6:30, get started. I'll call the start with pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we're gonna start off with a couple minute reviews. We have our January meeting and then our 2 work sessions. We can do them all in one fell swoop, so everyone's good with all of them. Any questions on those guys?
I'll make a motion to accept the regular meeting notes and the 2 additional meeting notes from the 21st to 24th and the 9th.
I'll second.
Any questions, guys? All in favor?
Aye.
Jump into the treasurer's report. Shannon is on Zoom today. I'm gonna turn my speakers all the way up, and we'll see how. Shannon, you're on mute. I don't know if Erica has to unmute or if you can.
I can unmute, but my mom is being ridiculous, so I'm trying. All right, you have my written report, or at least you should.
Yep.
The ins and outs of the month wasn't too bad. February was a bit bad, but nothing out of the ordinary.
Do you have any questions for Shannon?
And when are we expecting ready funds to come back in from state?
We have one final ready draw that is outstanding right now. That was sent in 2 weeks ago, so we should be getting that within the next 2 weeks, I would say. I haven't heard anything back from Ready.
What's still outstanding right now that they owe us?
Ready to close out Market Square Park is only, I believe it's like 267 maybe. And that's it for Ready. We do have outstanding FEMA and LWRP money.
That's right. LWRP and FEMA, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Those are like 600-ish, and I think 80. The is the larger.
Okay. Thank you. There's almost $1 million out there. They're gonna be reimbursed here
Yeah.
soon from the state FEMA. The LWRP.
Yeah, Ready's quick. LWRP can take longer.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, everyone. 4 of us saw the bills. Any questions for Shannon on those before we? Okay.
Oh,
Cool. I'll make a motion to pay bills.
I will second that motion to pay those bills.
All right, all in favor? Aye. And Peggy Gregg is abstaining.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any budget transfers?
Yeah,
Sure.
it's been included in your,
Oh, sure. Do you need those approved separately or?
no, you could just approve the budget transfers.
Great.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget transfers as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The work session, I think we already set the time for the next one, this is next week,
It is.
right? And then,
You said 6 p.m. and then 6 p.m. on the 6th also.
yeah, and that 6 was our floater if we need it, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I think we'll decide that probably at the end of next meeting.
That's what I told the girls earlier today. I thought we
Okay.
would try to figure out how much we could get through next week. before we
Cool.
decide.
Now, next week's, the format is we're bringing in the committees, they're gonna kind of do their request proposals, is that
I
what?
think there's just sending them on paper, I don't know that we're
Okay,
gonna try and like run them through the meetings.
Okay,
So we'll have them ahead of time. If we have questions, we can ask them, and then we can deliberate here. If they want to come and be able to chime in if we want their input, we can do that, but I think it'll be easier to just have them on paper.
I think most everybody's already submitted.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think we're
Fine,
waiting
Rose.
on any.
A while ago, so
Yeah.
we should have
So we
everybody.
just need to make sure that we all get eyes on them, and if we have any questions, fire them off, and we'll be good to go.
Those were both at 16.
Yes,
you make sure that what day was that?
28.
Wednesday and then the following Wednesday? Are they Wednesday? Yeah, it's the 28th and the 6th.
Got it, yep.
Yeah, they're both houses.
Okay, do we need a motion to,
We just,
for that? No.
we already got them scheduled.
Okay.
That's
Um,
more of a formality because it wasn't necessarily set in the public.
I appreciate you putting them in there, so we don't forget. Next up, we weren't sure if this should go in for treasurer or my report or the office requests. Shannon, do you want me to just jump in since it's easier?
Yeah, that's fine.
Correct me if anything comes up. And same
Yeah.
thing, Peggy, if. So Mike has got a quote here, basically to do the parts of our previous endeavor that ABS failed to do. He has actually been called in a couple times, to fix their overzealous selling of what their capabilities are. So he's done this system in the past. We're getting some funds back from ABS for what they were unable to do. We talked about it with the office staff, and they all agree we probably can't just exit the contract, so we're not paying that $800 a month. You called Steel for some help, and was it Steel or who did we? Wasn't there someone else you called to help? You said you had someone else we could call if we need. Taylor, not Steel, sorry, I mixed the two of them. Yeah.
Right,
And
because we
we,
have a contract with them that's monthly, right?
yes,
Are they upholding that end of it so far? Or You're not calling them?
they haven't, but.
have called the visitor center.
Yeah, we've used it. It's not that they haven't answered, it's that we were paying a lot, partly because they gave us a comprehensive solution. They're not able to service that. We're gonna have to bring someone else in to do that. And the expected amount of calls per month, if we're paying just one-offs, is not gonna be $800. And if it starts to become that, we can look at getting a contract again. So we talked about, Shannon and I both have not used our capital. Like we both get an equipment line. I think mine's like 2K. Shannon, is yours 3 or what's yours?
Either I or Peggy still have a large sum left. I want to say 10.
Okay, I've got 2. So we have room in the budget for equipment that's, usually allocated for like if I needed a laptop for but I just use my normal laptop because I'm going anyway and I'm not going to carry 2. So we have money in the budget to do this. And
Can I ask how much because they didn't fulfill their contract with us, how much should they give us back?
it was about 4,000, Shannon? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
and they're going to refund us for the TV, I believe. The computer that's behind the TV as well. Because when Mike came in to give us a quote of everything, he said he didn't even want that equipment.
Okay. Hardware, about $10,000, looks like services, $286 per month.
Yes,
So we're going down from $800 a month to now he's gonna give us a contract?
Yeah, and well, he also manages the phones as well.
that
So
contract is for the phone.
So that actually we'll be saving, I think we already pay more than that for our phones, don't we?
We pay $370, $380 every
Wrong
month.
one.
So actually, so this is the monthly contract is for our phone systems. And that is $100 less than our current systems,
Okay,
so.
And that phone system is to integrate more of when you call, there's an answering service. So you press 1 to talk to the village clerk, or you press 2 to talk to the mayor. So it frees up a lot of office time because you're only answering the phone calls that pertain to you.
Yeah, you can check the voicemail remotely, which is
Yep.
nice if we're out of the office, things like that.
okay.
So we can reallocate some funds to kind of cover the hardware, and it looks like we're gonna save a little bit of money on the services.
Yeah, and I would, Tell me if you think I'm out of line here, Peggy, but I would say we've already gotten so many quotes for these that I think we can look at the previous ones. This is fine. I don't think we're gonna find anybody else in the industry. We've talked to everyone locally who does this. But because it is obviously quite a bit more than our limit, we need to build on it.
The only question I have is, do we know this guy? We kind of got burned on ABS and I thought we knew him. I mean, I thought they were reputable. We checked their references. I thought we were covered. I don't know this person, so that's the only drawback I have. Do you have a relationship? Like,
I do not, but Shannon does.
okay,
Do we
Is
put out a
he
request? In fact,
I'm
Very-
sorry, what?
He's done very large systems. I mean, we are small scale for him. He has done work in the, is it the county building that has that big arena in there? Or the auditorium?
Yeah, their system, they have like a push button for each individual. It's a lot more complicated than we're gonna do.
Yeah, he's done all of that, and he came in and Peggy and Erica both met with him, and he walked him through everything, what he intends to do, and he is confident that he can do it. He's done it before, and he did mention that he has cleaned up some of our current contract, who our current contract is with. He's cleaned up some of their work.
Any issues in divorcing ourselves, or maybe us, they're
I don't think so. I mean, they've failed to uphold their end of. Right, I don't expect them to push back. If
Okay.
they do, we can address that. I'm gonna just talk to them myself first. I don't think we need to like have Jim draft anything.
okay.
Um,
They haven't shown any indication yet of.
they've been pretty apologetic. They know that there's been some major issues. I think that, I had them hold off changing our system to be under their account because I didn't want them to have to do that work and then undo it. So they kind of know, they're on a bit of notice. They called me a couple times. They wanted to talk to you guys first, because if you said, no, we want to stick with it, I didn't want to,
I just
yank
want it
their-
going. I don't care who does it. I
Yeah.
just don't want to get burned again,
Yeah.
because I thought we went with a good, I mean, ABS came with a lot of good references, so I'm disappointed that it didn't work
Basically,
out.
all the villages in North Country.
All the villages in the North Country, and of all the ones for them to mess up, it's ours.
Yeah, well, I
It's
think
unfortunate.
part of it is they were doing different systems for them. I don't think they did the video conferencing, and I think that's where they reached,
Okay.
and that's where they got in trouble.
Scope of work is different, yeah.
Yeah, it is what we need, so if this guys
Okay.
can do it, then yeah.
That list that was provided by ABS, it turns out that some of those municipalities are just under beer contract with them. So we
so
were
it's
a much bigger project and contract for them, and they didn't really show us what
Yeah.
we were looking for, I guess.
How fast can Mike get in here and do this?
Did he say, schedule, timeline?
You talk with Shannon a minute.
Shannon, how fast can he get in?
I believe timeline, he said maybe a month. Phones would be within a week.
Okay.
And I think that the big thing that for the meeting room would be bringing on the equipment to show up.
Okay.
So that's it. But as soon as we say yes, he will order it and get moving on it. And he did say, I know maybe it'll help. He did say he likes to do things right the first time because he doesn't want to come back. So he would rather stay and work for days to make sure that something works rather than have to come back every month to try and fix the problem. So I'm pretty confident that he can do it.
Do you need a motion for
Yeah,
that? Speak
yeah.
of the amount?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve Mike Pearson's quote.
One second.
Any other questions, guys? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, anything else for Shannon? Cool, thanks, Shannon. Move on to department reports. First up is the DPW.
Hey, I got two things to talk about besides what's on my report. I'll ask if you have any questions on the report first.
So the computer just didn't work install?
Yeah, just kind of, I don't know,
They fixed it pretty quickly.
they did, yeah.
Did they fix it? or
Well,
replace
they
it?
couldn't get them, so I had to put some pressure on them and they were here the next day, but other than that, it was all good. At no cost. Warranted after, weeks.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions.
No other questions?
You guys?
Don't want to put any pressure on you, but just so I can have a guideline or a time frame as to what is going on and I'm looking at possibly hiring people also for a portion of work for one of these things. But the eclipse, are we doing anything special for that I need to be aware of?
So there are a lot of businesses doing events because of the time of year.
I haven't seen anything advertised at all out there for this.
Yeah.
And from what I hear of other communities around the area, they're digging in.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be left behind and.
So I know the
and look like-
ballroom has comedy and music Friday and Saturday.
Mhm.
The Boathouse is doing a concert after the eclipse, to try and get people to stay, so there's not a cluster of traffic leaving. We're full we're almost full at the hotel. There's lots of people coming. I know the hotels in Watertown have talked about busing people to Sackett's because it'll be less crowded
Right.
than in Watertown.
Now, I don't know what John has going on for the eclipse, but if we need to be a part of the
The issue.
the hustle and bustle getting people out of here, then so be it, but it's like, what I'm planning on.
It's been tricky with parking because we don't know if we'll have, all of our, kind of expansion lots are not real. So if it's muddy or snowy on April 8th, the LDC lot's out, the Madison Barracks is out.
Right,
So we haven't done a lot of trying to draw more people in for parking because, or to sketch out where that will be, because people have to park just where there's parking available. We'll know more like the week
I'm
before, the weather's looking. good.
considering road closures or, traffic control, I guess.
Yeah,
more than anything,
I,
obviously.
none of the events have, or none of the activities, more than events, have asked for any closures. Partly because we need the parking and the access. If we
Okay.
had somewhere else for people to park, we could do that, but I don't think. I went to the Watertown safety meeting last month. There's another one coming up in a couple weeks, but they're really worried about the congestion regionally, but I think because we're not gonna have Battlefield parking, Madison Barracks parking, I don't think we're gonna have quite as much congestion getting out of the village like we do. for
Well,
the
it's,
4th of July.
it's not just the people who want to come here, it's also the residents getting in and out also, so.
Yeah.
And it's not like the 4th of July where everything's going one way, you're gonna have it
Yeah.
coming both ways, but.
Yeah.
I think people are gonna come and it sounds like we don't have a plan in place for directing that traffic. Whether we want them to come or not,
already have-
they're gonna be coming.
I've already got the fire police committed to assisting and we're gonna.
I actually talked to them and they're not committed until we decide if we're doing,
Okay,
they're
well, I
not
don't know.
covered.
They
I
just-
know you asked them.
Right, they told me, he sent me a thing, I talked to Vince
Oh, they need
and
like
Roger.
a village
And they said they
declaration.
have.
Or
at
their
least-
insurance doesn't cover any
Sure.
of it, so
They
yeah.
they have at least 3 of them that said they'd be willing to help out as far as traffic
do,
control. And then, I've talked to Connie and met with the park police. The park police are gonna be in the area too, and the rangers. And they have, the battlefield they put in place their modified 4th of July plan. As far as roping off the protected like lawn area, and then their
So the
lots
people
are.
don't park there.
Right, their lots will be open, obviously, depending on
Yeah.
if there's snow and stuff like that. But they're going with their modified 4th of July plan,
Probably.
And then I know Henderson has a meeting coming up in March.
Yeah.
About their whole events they're planning down there too. There's gonna be, I was told there's gonna be like 100+ extra troopers that are getting sent up this way from downstate.
Yeah.
That are gonna be helping out with the main thoroughfares. And then everyone at the sheriff's department is gonna be on duty that day too to assist. Not necessarily directly here,
Sure,
but like in
yeah.
the,
So the
Path.
path goes from like south of Buffalo through Rochester and through us. So everything kind of downstate they're shipping up. Yeah. Yeah, we don't have any like, so the school's doing some things, the library and some stuff, the church is doing a canceled stamp thing. And the business, we don't have anything outdoors planned. Partly because
What do we perceive to be the biggest risk for this event? Is it traffic?
Yes.
Is that it right there?
The,
So,
In reality, like, the traffic should flow out fairly decent. The only thing that's gonna prevent that is if you get a major accident outside the village, out at like any of the intersections with Route 3,
Yeah.
which obviously is gonna be like a sheriff's department, state police issue.
all right,
the main concern at the meeting I went to was traffic related, but it was about, EMTs being able to get down to Syracuse. If it's a 4-hour drive and somebody has a cardiac issue, that's the difference between them making it or not. And so them being on alert, knowing that they're gonna have trouble potentially getting from here to Syracuse. We actually have a gentleman, I can't find his number in any computers we have. I might just go to his house. He worked for Lifelight in the village. And I know they've been talking about staging planes in the area so that if someone does need an evac, they can skip over the,
you said we have designated landing zone for those things, so I mean, that's taken care of,
but it's, that's the main issue is there's traffic where there's an accident on 81 and we've got 100,000 people leaving the county on Monday afternoon. That could be a 12-hour nightmare.
Right, and their big concern is to, like, everybody talks about the eclipse coming, but then once it starts, what they've had in a lot of other areas is people are like, oh, and then everybody just starts pulling off.
That's what I
And
think
then-
is gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah, because not everyone's aware, no matter how many times.
They literally just pull off the side of the road, which is now another traffic
Get out of their car,
hazard.
look up instead of the next car that's coming.
Yeah, so and then there's not a lot for us to do for that, except to make sure that, unfortunately here, we're a low speed area anyway, and hopefully people here are aware, but.
We're not gonna have anyone directing them to I'm concerned that people are gonna be coming to the village, they're not gonna know where to park. And they're gonna park in those areas that aren't designated as parking spots. And then who's gonna be here to tell them that they can't park there? We're gonna have residents upset that people are parking in places where they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I just,
It's,
I feel like we're
even when we
not
do step
really
up for like
prepared.
Can-Am. We don't really direct people where to park, but there's a few places
no,
we
but we
direct
put
people and then they
barriers
just
up and
go.
we say, don't park here, like, are we doing that? Sounds like Lynn doesn't have directive in that regard.
Barricaded off.
I don't know, like, sounds like we don't want them
I
parking at
kind of-
LDC, we don't
well,
want them.
I think generally, if. It's okay if it's okay, there's a snowbank there, no one's gonna park there. If it's a mud pit, yeah, we'll probably have to pull out a couple less than intelligent folks, but it's gonna be difficult to predict all the different places people could make a dumb decision. And then we don't have we can't put 200 people out to try and stop everyone from parking in weird places, so. We just have to kind of address that as it happens.
Okay, so we're going with, it's just gonna work itself out, that's the plan we're taking.
I mean, if you have ideas, I'm open to them.
I don't know,
I'm
yeah,
not sure.
we had
yeah.
a year to prep for this, I feel like we're not prepared for it, so I'm starting to
Okay.
be a little concerned,
Yeah.
where. It's not far off, and
I
we
mean, I
don't have
think-
answers to questions.
I think at this point in time, the only thing, it's reasonable. And really, the only thing we need, maybe additional, are you gonna have different additional
Right,
support?
yeah,
Boom, so we're gonna have more police out there to
What
kind of
about
support.
bathrooms?
I mean, I'd be happy to open this place. We're always open.
At one point, we were talking about getting porta johns, we didn't end up doing that.
I think we have them reserved. I don't know. I have to check and see where they're putting them. But we didn't do it through the village. I did it through the committee.
And that's, I think the problem, the difference is there's no village sanctioned eclipse event. So
Right.
anything that's being done is being done by the business.
Ad hoc. yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah, so.
I just want to cover the safety part of it is on us to make sure that the residents are safe and anybody joining us as guests need to be safe. Also, that's my concern. I think it's great that all the businesses have their own, I think that's awesome. I just want to make sure that they can get in and get out safely and that people are respecting our
Yeah.
laws and our residents' yards, and I just don't want people pulling over and just parking anywhere.
Hmm.
I can foresee that happening.
Yeah, I mean, it does in the summer, like in the concert series, people park along all the streets there.
I know, but
Obviously,
when
it's
the
worse in
city
the
is
spring,
saying,
it's muddy.
the city told the school to close, they don't want buses or students on the roads anywhere, because
Jen-
they're concerned about.
Hasn't yet, but we've talked about it. I think they're hoping that the state declares it so they don't have to use it there, so. Yeah, it's right at school let out at 3:20, like. that's-
My school
Right.
closed half a day.
right, most of the schools in the whole county are closing that I've heard. The only one that I heard that isn't is Belleville Henderson. they're actually going in later. They're
TI
planning to
is
go in
doing that
later
too.
and then stay a little later, that
Yeah.
way
They're in, yeah.
they're there for.
Yeah, I
like
mean,
the-
I think as far as for us, Lynn, if you guys. You know, are available and we can staff for it to
It's okay.
assume we'll be, you know,
Yeah.
managing some things.
Just didn't know if I was missing something somewhere.
No, I mean,
And Lynn, I was gonna get with you about just having the barriers in the same area as 4th of July,
Yeah,
just like we do, that way if we need them, we just throw them up.
that's fine.
yeah, I mean, we talked, so there's. Hale, I talked to Hale, what's it called, Hale Transport, the bus company, they're putting 10 buses for Watertown, they still have a couple left. You know, I talked with Margaret about maybe using my parking lot in Watertown and shuttling people into town, but unfortunately, I don't know. You know, they haven't gotten back to me about cost, and I don't think it's gonna make sense for the village to do it, I don't think it's gonna make sense for her business to do it, so. I don't know that we're gonna have any alternative way to get in and out of here. And I think the traffic issue, you know, we may have them here, but I think the major choke points are gonna be the highways going north and south. And if those are congested, you know, in Tennessee, it was 12 hours. There was a 12-hour traffic jam to get out of the area for people who were leaving that day. And there's very little we can do because we're in the corner. So if we're pushing people out and the highway's full. we're
Right,
just gonna
and the
get
good
back
part
up.
is we have 4 different
Yeah.
exits,
Yeah,
like we do on 4th of July. If one of them starts slowing down, if there's something up there, you just
Push my-
push it the other way.
yeah. Yeah, and it may be that we're directing people to just take Route 3, don't go to 81 if it's, you know, we'll have to.
And a lot of times we just have patrols out there. And instead of letting them turn onto Route 3, we just make them go towards 81.
Sure. Sure,
They can figure it out there in Sulphur Springs or somewhere.
yeah.
So it sounds like we're not doing a village sanctioned thing, so I gotta figure out a way for the fire department to be covered. It's definitely a safety issue, so we might.
We can declare.
We might
whatever
have
we
to
need.
tone them out is the only way I
Right,
can
and
think.
that's
If
what I-
we tone them out, then it's legal and they're covered. But
Right.
if we don't tone them out, and we just ask them to be on standby, they're not covered.
Okay.
So I
Right.
think we're gonna have to tone them out and just
Right,
say.
or they're
you know,
on standby until something happens, then they get toned out and then they go out and.
Right, but if we want them, the 3 to help with the traffic control, we need to tone that part out too. So that's my
And
catch.
those guys are not, I don't know, are there any overlap with the EMS? We don't wanna, with that many people, we don't wanna be pulling potential EMS.
No,
Okay.
No, they're
yeah.
designated only, they're usually the older
Right,
that do it.
the wiser.
The why
Why-
they're retired people just drive traffic.
And Ron said he would help. I think that's why his hands up.
Oh, my hand up, because you guys keep using this term called tone them out. What does that mean?
That means that we're gonna have to call 911 and tell them that for safety concerns, we need the
Fire.
fire police to
Oh, we're gonna make the
report.
siren go.
We're gonna have to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only way to,
That's
they
what I
need to
thought.
be
What-
covered
what-
under New York State insurance, and the only way to get that is to
Either
sanction
be
a.
Called out or
an event.
have an event that's already covered, like our insurance.
Tone them out. I'm gonna go.
We're gonna
home.
tone them out.
I thought like that, tune them out. Don't tune them
Not
out.
tune them out.
Dude, you
tone
say
them
that
out.
every time the siren goes, you'll be like, oh. I get-
They're getting toned out. Huh? I know that.
All right.
Are we done beating that to down?
Yeah,
They're good.
The second thing is, I really need an idea or a guideline for the docks. I'd like to get into the pool while it's hot,
Yeah.
before all these summertime help people find jobs elsewhere or other places. If we're gonna hire people, I'd like to actually, advertise
In the
for it.
spirit of your bullets taking the longest, do you wanna just get into that now?
I submitted the
That way we
doc
can blame
plan.
Lynn for it.
So yes, he kind of preempted me, but this way then he can get out of here. In your packet is the doc plan recommendation from the committee that met, which was Lynn, Greg, myself, Jeff Hampsh, and Dave Altieri. We met as a group. This is what we came up with. The only addition that I added to it that I spoke with Dave Altieri, and I think I mentioned to Lynn, but Greg may not know about this, is I put in there village taxpayers will be eligible for a seasonal pass, 1 per household, that they could use at no charge a day pass. So say a resident wanted to, I don't know, go take their boat to the dock on the 4th of July or something, they could get 1 seasonal pass, and then we'll have a set number of docks available for those residents only. They would have to get them from the village. They would prove that they're actually a resident and a tax-paying resident in order to qualify for that. But the rest of it is what the committee originally had said. I did change the dock usage from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. to allow for dinner people to be able to finish, and we said first come, first serve. We decided as the committee flat rates. We also recommended hiring 2 part-time dock hands. So the dock plan needs to be approved before Lynn can request the extra staff.
Yeah, okay.
We talked about doing the dock master, but John has approached Ron about the village police department taking that over. So we won't be hiring a peace officer or whatever term is appropriate.
Are the. I thought that, the dock hands were part of your summer staff that would just be tasked with additional responsibilities, or are we talking about in addition to your typical summer?
No,
staff?
you're right.
Okay,
You're
okay.
right.
Yeah, so.
It would just be more hours.
The last,
Right,
the
that's what-
last what we talked for personnel, I thought we landed on possibly adding a summer person to you, but having them not be dedicated to the dock
We
necessarily.
tabled it because we got into the dock conversation and we said we needed to talk about it at the
Right.
next meeting, so it was never
That's
addressed.
fine. Yeah, so I mean, I think. If you need one extra person for summer help and then you can fit them around and handle the kind of day-to-day stuff. And John and Ron have been thinking about, trying to make sure that they have someone around. It's one the village really would probably need officers anyways, the 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock, Friday, Saturdays is when we expect to have people there that aren't leaving or that are, trying not to. Those 2 things could avoid us having to hire a dedicated dock person. And just
I
like,
think we talked about this summer, it would be the flower person would start doing the flowers and then end their day at the dock. Where therefore they would
They could be a
continue
part
that
of it.
job.
And the public
yeah, and I mean, the thing is,
Yeah.
if you're managing them, and I know you're not gonna have them sitting around, so if there's nobody at the docks and there's nothing happening and you wanna move them, we don't need to necessarily have a person there
Correct.
every minute the docks are open.
Yeah.
And so I think that's fine. I don't know the number, how many summer helpers do you usually hire? Do you need 1 or 2 extra?
It's a big guessing game, but it'll probably be at least a couple more.
Yeah, cause you've got other stuff additional. You got an extra parking lot, you got, well, 2
Oh,
to 3 now.
Yeah,
Well,
just
it's
just
part-time.
maintaining that area is
I was
gonna be,
saying they're part-time, so if somebody
Okay.
can't do it one day, the other person fills
Okay.
in on another day.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, do we usually start summer hiring for temps before the budget's finalized?
It usually starts
start-
in like
Um,
April.
yes,
Okay.
yes, for one.
And do you see any problem with that? I mean, we haven't gotten that far into the budget yet, but as far as personnel goes, we've got room for an additional part-time person, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let me preempt this, what I'm about to say with this. First off, I appreciate the hard work that you guys have done already. Trying to lean forward and get in front of this thing. And I may be the only person on this board who probably has this feeling or this opinion. Let me walk down the history of this. It was my understanding that the state of New York came in, they did an analysis for us, right? And they came back and said, okay, your greatest resource is tourism. In order for you to increase tourism, what we're going to do is we're going to allocate you some funds, some state funds to increase your tourism. And we did that through the docks, right? So the docks are now in, they're ready to be used. So what we're trying to do, it looks like, is we're trying to charge people money to use these docks, that the state already told us that if we actually put these docks out there, it was my opinion that we use them for free, it would increase tourism, so people will come in, use these docks for a couple of hours, visit our restaurants and things like that, get in their boats and go home. So is anyone concerned if we start charging people this type of money, that they're not even gonna come to Second Harbor,
I
which
think
was
that-
the intended desire for these docks to go in place?
I think the opinion of the committee was it is a draw. People are already talking about coming to Sackus Harbor with the new docks that are there and that people are willing to drop pretty good money to park and pay for parking. The other concern is residents that I've spoken to aren't happy or unwilling to pay. Like, if we allow them to use our power and our sewer for free and we're not charging them, now the residents are picking up that cost.
We do
So
have the
this
option
would
to-
minimize, this would just break us even.
Right, we do have the option to turn the power and water off. So
I think
takes
that
out
was
everybody.
the plan was to.
Well, these are, and, you know, we did have conversations with other municipalities along the lake and the river, Clayton, Alex Bay, Cape Vincent. I think for the most part, charge a nominal fee, $7, $8. And in my mind, it would be really to offset the cost of the additional hours that, you know, Lynn's staff
Exactly.
would be putting.
And the
in.
village is also, you know, this isn't 100% refunded amount of money that we put in down there too, so we do have a certain amount of money invested down there also.
Yeah.
But also the man hours that
there-
are gonna
I
entail
get
in
it, I
there.
get it.
We don't charge for Studley Park so that people who don't have kids aren't paying for other kids to play. You know, there's lots of resources we have. Not everyone uses the trails, not everyone uses, so. I get, we don't wanna have a huge outlay, and if there were Tesla boats running around charging at the docks, costing us $500 a week, that'd be one thing.
Doesn't cost us anything to do that, Alex. We're gonna have extra people down there every
Oh, I
day.
know.
Every day.
But we
It's a
could-
7-day-a-week process down there.
What is so, I don't think.
Will they be there
intend
all-
on having dock hands like lash people up and things, right?
I personally don't think it, or I personally agree with the idea of doing that.
Yeah.
Is there any harm in us? Cause this is the first year. But we just don't know what we don't know at this point in time, right?
So let's be ready for it.
Is there any, I'll just go the other direction. Is there any harm in us just seeing what happens, let it play out?
No, because I don't believe so. I don't believe so. I don't want it to become a cluster down there and have people leave our village and go, what a cluster over there. You don't want to go over there. You know, I'd rather have it maintained and then dwindled away as needed.
So
where we-
I think
we're
that makes
overmanned.
sense from a personnel perspective, but I worry that charging and having the season pass is a nice idea, but who's gonna, you know, if somebody comes in and they don't have a smartphone or they just don't care, they're like, oh, QR code, I'm not reading the sign. They park their boat, they walk. in.
That's why the dock
Who's
was there
gonna-
to stop them from doing that.
You're
That's
not gonna
the
be
whole
there
point of
100% of the time,
But
right?
the original intent was they were gonna be there, and during this conversation,
Yeah,
we've changed that, but now they're not there. So
I
the
worry
purpose of
that,
this plan was that they were gonna be there, they were gonna be checking people, they were gonna be encouraging them to use the QR code to pay. And
I worry that will cost more than not doing it. In terms of, like, we're gonna pay a wage to people to charge a nominal amount for docks. I think we will net lose money. When you talk about, we have a responsibility to charge. If you wanted to say, oh, it's gotta be profitable, now we have to, then we are
make
actually.
money, I just don't want the resident to have to pick up any cost. I don't wanna pay for some big boat to come down here and use our power and our sewer. I don't think that's,
Yeah,
I
and-
personally, as a taxpayer, don't want that.
Yeah.
Already associated costs, just having a dock is gonna be an extra.
Of course.
Just having.
Correct, I just wanna offset that.
Yeah, I mean,
I
we're
don't
just
wanna
looking
make
at a
money.
zero sum
I,
come here.
but I think like, we have to look at the cost of how complicated do we wanna make it, right? Do we wanna we have to have a payment system? We've gotta have a separate account for it, or does it go
No.
into the general fund?
Many talked about it, and I just haven't figured it out with Shannon yet, but just having them go to our website and make a payment there. Through a QR code or something.
Like,
Michael Dennehy, 110 Monroe. I was the when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I was the harbor master for, that's what we called it at the time, for 3 years. So if I could just share my quick experience, and probably should have shared that at a committee previous to this, so my appreciation for your patience. If there's nobody there, my experience was the boats are gonna park where they want and take up as much space as they want. So I would be concerned with the risk of boaters come in, they spend a lot of money, but they're gonna park wherever they want. So you might have a 4-foot dinghy that prevents the 34-foot sea rate from being able to park.
sure.
So there's a traffic management issue that, you know, I used to work for, who was the Lynn back in the day. That was my job. I went down and I charged people, and whatever the point of sale system was, back then it was just cash.
Yeah,
And I would say, again, based on my personal experience after having done it for 3 years, there's a lot more that comes in than I was charging for my $8 an hour at the time.
sure.
A lot more. And there is a risk for the cash flow. I appreciate your concerns, I do. But, or not cash flow, there's a risk for the traffic flow. And that's where I think that harbor master, for lack of a better term, I think that's where they're going
Are
to.
we talking to Ed, Lynn, did you guys wanna do this daily, just charge on weekends, charge every day? I just wonder, like,
Are we doing overnight?
No,
No one's ever gotten back to me. Maybe I should look into it now. I've asked the question a couple months ago, are we legally allowed to do this? You know, given that these are docks paid by the state of New York, can we charge?
Clayton does. They didn't pay for it all themselves. They had money that came in.
Yeah, but they're.
I believe you're
we'd have to-
allowed to, and we haven't asked the direct question,
Yeah,
we
Dave
can
might-
bring it up.
Dave's trying.
This is Dave Altieri. I can speak to that. Yes, we are allowed to do this and it's fairly conventional.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
I agree with Lynn in the fact that we need to be prepared. I don't want us to look bad and have people walk away with an unhappy experience because we weren't prepared to begin with. I would rather be over prepared and then step back and be like, okay, we overdid it this year. Let's step back. We don't have to do it. I would rather go overboard the first time. A word is going to get out and it is already, people are already talking about coming here. I think it's a good thing. I just want it to be a good experience for everyone, for the resident and for the guests.
I don't disagree, and I appreciate your input and your example, because that helps me see it a little bit better. I think there's probably a need for traffic control down there. To counter your point, I've also heard the opposite, where people are saying, I got a boat in Harrison, I can't wait to go to Sackett's. But I found out you guys are gonna be charging I'm not gonna pay that fee,
Henderson charges too.
so that's what.
Yeah, yeah, I mean,
You're one of the people I talked to.
You're gonna see both sides.
yeah,
Where do they charge in
We're
Henderson?
in town.
Oh, there's like nobody there, you just launch your boat and, I mean, they just have a town boat launch,
Okay, well, that's
As a
person
break
that-
wall.
Park right there at the water,
Correct.
the water side with no charge and.
over at the restaurant.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, that's
we don't
true too.
charge at the
That's true
restaurant.
too.
Come first served.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, so I
well,
think
they-
generally, I do agree, like, there's a nice touch to have somebody there, especially I think during the week, we'd probably get away with having, just keep an eye, if there's only 2 boats, you don't really need to pack them tightly. But during the weekends, having somebody there might make sense. I still think.
we have, how many boat slips? 16?
Yeah,
I think.
I just think on like a
exactly
random
how people are gonna be
Tuesday, it might
coming
not-
like
we'll
crazy.
find
You
out.
never know.
Well, if I might, the challenge, I think, is, you know, I heard that, I don't know if it's still true, it's supposed to be a limit of 30-foot length boat. So I think that's gonna be one of the challenges, is a 36-foot boat coming in that wants to.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not arguing, I don't think we should ever have staff or personnel there. I think we may find that middle of the week is, you know, you guys can step away and do some other work. And I'm sure you're not gonna want those guys just sitting around.
No,
So I don't worry about that. And I'm happy to have you get whatever number of people you think is necessary to manage if it's very busy scenario. And then we have plenty of other stuff they can do if we're less busy than we thought. My concern, and what I just generally don't think it's a good idea to add a complication of people are gonna wanna pay with cash. We've already agreed, we don't like the idea of cash. So now they gotta pay with a QR code or a credit card. Somebody might be annoyed, or they park, they don't see the thing, well, you're stepped up. I just think we can do first come, first serve. And if we start to see we're filling up at 10 AM and people are frustrated and we need a disincentive or we want people to move it along, then we can talk about implementing charging. But I think the first year, I don't think it's necessarily the best thing to make a very complicated system where we're gonna be taking up more of their time to, they gotta go on the website and say, oh, your payment went through? Or do we
We
just,
do it at any other dock. If they go to the marina, they pay.
not all of
What's
them?
the difference?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, they're a for-profit business that's gotta pay a staff and actually has to manage the P and L of that specific thing, whereas we
but
can
just
lose as much
approved
money
a
as we
staff
want.
person,
if
But
we-
now we don't wanna cover it. So at
If
first
they're
it was,
not-
we needed
yeah.
to justify it. Now we approved it,
I
but now
think
we're not charging.
We can do.
So it
let's-
sounds like we just need to vote on it, and if it passes, it passes, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So I will make a motion to approve the dock plan.
Yeah, I don't
then
think
we
the
can
doc plan is fleshed out enough to approve it in one shot. If you wanna
It
vote
needs to
on
be voted
individual
on
items,
so
we
we can move forward. And I just made a motion, so either we vote on it and it doesn't
No.
pass,
So
or we don't.
you need a second to pass it, or to bring it to vote, and someone would wanna do that.
Has
I
the
don't
doc
think,
plan been published for us to see?
it hasn't, but I don't know that it needs to be, but just so. For the record, I'm happy with some of the pieces of it. I don't think the plan as it stands is fleshed out enough to approve wholesale. If somebody else wants to second it and bring it to a vote, we can, but I think we need to take it a little more piece by piece.
No, I agree with that statement. I'm not ready to go forward with this plan per se. I do like a lot of elements of this. I would like to. And I apologize for not being part of the conversation until now. This is kind of crappy because.
I emailed this out like a month and
I
a
know.
half ago and not one response, but now we're sitting here and now you guys can't agree.
When's the
This
next
is the
board
part
meeting?
with
3
the
weeks?
board that is the problem.
Yeah.
You don't
Can you be
answer.
prepared in
nothing's
3
done.
weeks?
Yeah, but here's the other thing. I don't think, we don't need, if what is driving this vote tonight is so you can hire somebody extra, we don't
That's
need that
part
right
of
now.
it. Okay.
I think that part we can just say, we probably need to vote to add personnel to your hiring, but personally, I think that's an easy yes, that part of it.
Right.
Because we're gonna need it, whatever plan we go with, that's required. So whether or not they're there to help people tie up, or they're just there to spray the goose shit off, whatever it is, we're gonna need more people because there's a bigger public space. So I think I'd be happy to approve that right now. If there's other pieces of this that we all agree on that we think are necessary either way, we can parse them out. But generally, I don't think the plan as it stands is what's gonna be voted on. Greg, Sarah, do you guys disagree, or what are you thinking?
I think we do need some type of schedule because we are gonna staff up DPW. I mean, at one point, not too long ago, we were talking about trying to add a full-time person to the DPW staff, and we decided that increasing the hours of the part-time staff during the summer would be a better way to go. So I think there needs to be a fee structure and it's nominal. I mean, people coming in there with 30-foot boats
I'm more
are
worried-
not
yeah.
going to.
I'm not worried about the number as much as just that it introduces a lot of overhead to deal with that. That's my main concern. The number, if it's $2 or $10 or $20,
Yeah,
that to
it's-
me is not the problem. It's now we have to have these guys trained on checking an app to confirm a payment. You've got there's a lot there that I think if we find out it wasn't necessary, we'll have done a lot of work that we don't need to do.
I guess I would rather take the conservative approach and scale back versus scramble mid-season to get something in place and.
Yeah.
Len's gonna have his staff already doing what they're doing and then to, change that midstream. I would rather err on the side of caution out of the gate and then pull back if we find that it's not necessary. Like you said, maybe during the weekdays, there really isn't a need for dock hands and maybe it's only a weekend thing, but I personally would rather be prepared upfront.
Okay.
That-
So is that you saying you think this is good as it is,
The-
or you wanna?
The one question that I have is the, how do you deal with a cash transaction?
I think we said that if we do charge, we'd probably say no cash.
I think the committee talked about the safety of, again, having the guys down there with cash on them. We said,
What do we do?
and we can do it with a square. I don't care if we have a square. We could,
What,
The
Wait,
water
what-
tower has like you just have a cash box that we could anchor if you wanted to do. cash
in your era, how was
cash
cash
only.
transaction?
Only.
Yep.
It was cash only, but I would have to take the money back up here to the office every 24 hours and
Okay.
reset the cash box.
Yeah.
But with modern technology and the digital fluency of people younger than us, I think logistically that's pretty easily manageable with a square system
Right.
down there. Just makes sense.
That's how I mean, most people pay with a debit card, they pay with Apple Pay. They don't even carry a wallet with them anymore. So I just thought it would be safer for whoever it is that was down there. That either we had a square, or if we didn't want to do a square because we're nervous of that we could send them somehow. The square, I think, would be easier. That to me, that's the easiest. We're not sending them to a website.
Credit card readers are cheap. I'm mostly just worried about the hassle of it all being worth the trouble and being somewhat discouraging of people just casually coming in for a little bit. So he pulls up for 30, but anyway, I think the question then is to keep going here. So you've got a motion open. If Greg, if you think this is good, you can second it and then we can vote on it. If you don't, we can take
The
out
only
each
thing I will
piece
say,
and
if we
vote on it
decide on the
separate.
square, then we don't need the website piece and unless other than information about the docs. we can add a web part to the website. But if we're gonna do a square, then we don't need to, I mean, we'll have to work with Shannon on how
But
to
if
do
we
that.
had
work.
a square, we would have to have somebody down there all the time, even during the weekdays, correct? As
Or-
opposed-
If we're
or it's
charging,
like-
unless we back off and say we're not charging during the week, but
Right.
I think at the beginning, we should do it all the time, and if we find out that nobody comes Monday through Wednesday. Then we say, okay, we'll back off and not cover it Monday through, I'd like,
You know,
I just would rather be prepared, but you're right,
Right.
someone would have to
Yeah.
be down there.
all the time.
I think it's gonna cost us more money than it's gonna make us to do that, but, and it's not, I think it's the wrong vibe to send.
So Alex, is your concern that it's like an unwelcoming thing? or
I think it's
discouraging
unwelcoming, and I
people?
also think we stand to lose more money than we gain by saying, okay, so, yeah, on a Saturday, sure, we've got 6, 7, 8 boats paying $10 for 4 hours, so that's $2.50 an hour a boat. You know, we're covering their wages for that time, but on a Tuesday, we've got somebody standing down there, and maybe they're doing some work around, but there's no boats, there's one boat. So
I don't.
we're paying somebody to be,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, we don't know.
I just cannot see in the summertime. Anybody being able to just stand around. I just, there's so many
It's not
things
gonna
going on, it's just. I think we
But
could
if they're
put,
not,
we could
like,
put 10
if they're
people
not
on.
there,
and-
right, if
and
they're
keep
up the
them
street
busy.
putting the flower and somebody parks their boat
Mhm.
and there's no one around. They're
So
just.
they don't get power and they don't get sewer, because the
Most-
person
most
holding the
people
key
don't.
is the one to do
Most
that.
people don't need that. Most
You're right,
people
but
wanna-
the ability for them to have it is down there, so I
Yeah,
mean, that's the
But I mean,
other.
like, are we gonna?
Well, are we gonna
people if
capture
they-
100%?
if they-
I don't-
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
so
not.
then it's like, I think it's gonna be a little confusing, it's gonna be frustrating. That's my concern, I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
that's why I
well, I don't
think,
think anybody's sure.
I think it'd be better, in my opinion, to lean towards, let's see if it gets busy. And we start to have problems, we can say, all right, we're gonna add congestion charge on the weekends, we can get a square reader in 10 minutes. I can order it before,
I guess-
we get to the engineering part of the meeting.
I would second the motion, I guess with the caveat that we can have further discussion on method of payment.
Yeah, I guess
You know, if we
then,
could go to Square.
yeah, so we,
QR code.
you're okay with that, Kelly?
Yep.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve this. Let me just
I
look,
just have one clarification first. So regardless of whether we're approving this currently, we will have the extra personnel that will be hired to be in that area to help manage. Is
so
that
technically we
correct?
can't vote on that until we close this out. If we vote on this and say, this is a motion to give Lynn, I'll list this is a combined motion to give Lynn
Two
the
part-time.
authority to hire 2 part-time people to do this and other work and manage them as he sees to do. To set these specific rates, so I think I mean, if we're gonna vote on it and you guys wanna pass it, I think probably should say the rates are up for discussion and change as needed. Because it might be that we want them higher or lower.
I
But we're
think the
voting
rates
on,
were
we're voting
based
on
on
the
a
2
survey.
people, we're voting on these rate numbers. And then instead of a QR code, we could use Stripe. And that, I guess in that case, we wouldn't need the
QR
web
code
design
or-
Right.
Right.
work, and that we're also in here is that we're not hiring a harbor master and that the police are going to manage the evening ticketing / discouraging of people from staying.
I would just say that those rates are based on a survey of other local municipalities, so they're.
And we went
They're
very
not-
conservative compared.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I think, we want the ability to, but we can always go change it if we want, so that's fine. But, so that's the motion is for those 4 things. Greg has seconded it.
And Officer Gleason, you have the manpower and time to fill those time slots as.
Yeah, most of, when the people are working in the summer, it's usually like a 3 to 11, 2 to 10, like it overlaps the dock closing hours. Yeah,
Okay. Will you be able to
and I
provide,
have the on-call phone too, so for some reason there is an issue, obviously, like anybody, and it's on the website to call and. I'm only minutes away, even if I'm not here.
will the staff that's working have the ability, like, will they know who to contact if they're having an issue down there? Because if you're gonna be the peace officer, they're not gonna call 911. I would like them to call whoever the officer is on For
Right,
them,
yeah,
will they
yeah.
know?
Right, and
They'll have.
either they can call me and I can get a hold of whoever, or
Okay.
we'll figure that part out. I'll have a contact made available, and even if they do call up there. Like to the 911 center, there's like non-emergency numbers where they can just get a hold of us on the radio, even if we're not like right there. And there's actually probably a way to. I don't know if Lynn has the county radios or not, but there's actually like talk around channels for the local
No.
DPWs and.
Okay, I just want them, I just want to
Maybe
make sure
a
they.
bat
can
signal
hold
or
it.
something.
Right, yeah,
Yeah, so
there'll be a sailboat up in the sky.
I guess my 2 cents is, we can always change this in the future. I don't see that these fees or any fee are gonna be super discouraging to somebody that's coming to our village to spend time and money and have a good time. And it gets busy down there. I mean, even the parking lot, before we had all of the everything built down there was always busy with trailers and trucks, and walking my children past that in and out parking area is madness during the summer. So I don't think it's a bad idea to have management down there. And I do think it is better to have a plan in place that's a little bit more stringent than maybe it needs to be up front and then scale back, as opposed to mayhem and
Trying to fix it after the fact was my concern. I just didn't want to.
yeah, I think scaling back is always easier than bulking up, so.
I usually just bring my boat over to get ice cream, like we get off and walk up the street and stuff, but for people like that, it might discourage them paying like $10 or whatever for the.
And we talked about maybe, I mean, perhaps we designate a couple that are
Like
no
short
for
time,
short term.
and that's what I was.
And that's
gonna
a
ask.
possibility too, because I don't want to discourage that. And we did talk about perhaps leaving a.
And there are
a few.
16 slips total,
Yeah, one of which is the fire department though, so now we're down to 15.
so perhaps like
Either
a
here or
third of
these
the
slips.
slips could.
they're paying $10 every 4 hours too.
The fire
Yeah.
department?
Again, just so we're tracking, and I'm not gonna go with Rufus, I'm gonna go no. Because I don't wanna charge anything, I think giving it 1 year so we can make the right decisions. Because it's, once we're out there and we become that village that charges and turns people off, it's gonna be kind of hard to turn that back on. So that's why I was asking for a year to kind of see how this thing develops. Again, I'm only 1 vote, I will vote no, but I understand you guys wanna vote yes.
Yeah, I'm with Ron. I mean, I think a lot of these pieces I'd vote yes for separately, but like the police, the personnel. But I think it'd be better to be free, so I'll vote no as well.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah.
I know, I'm just saying.
I'm a yes.
I feel like the only thing we're disagreeing about is the payment portion.
Well, frankly, if you vote no, we will probably vote, we'll put motions up for each of the individuals, because we do need to Lynn needs people, and we need to make a decision.
I guess in my.
But if you
in my
vote yes, then we don't
mind-
have to do that part.
In my mind, does it leave a bad taste in somebody's mouth when they get something for free at first and then you charge them again after, when they're,
Sure.
repeat customers coming back to enjoy the village? Or is it better to just upfront have a fee that you can always retract if it is insignificant and.
I got an email the other day, it was from Netflix. And they politely informed me I was gonna increase your bill by $5. I think that naturally happens as time goes on, you know what I'm saying? As a situation.
We all
happy
expect that
about
now, right?
it. I wasn't happy
You
about
probably
it.
called him right now.
I paid it. I wasn't happy about it, but I understood the situation changed.
Sarah,
And-
it took, I think it was like 6 months before I got to be a deciding vote. You're right off the getting there, like
Yeah, well,
stressful.
I don't. It seems like a nominal charge for people that are gonna be here spending money in town regardless. I can't see that it deters people from coming to Sackett's Harbor. I really don't see that being an issue. And I do think it's better to charge somebody up front and, next season we say, you know what, that was unnecessary. Let's make all of the slips free. I think it's certainly necessary to have short-term, maybe less than 4 hours, 3 slips that are.
Right, and we talked about that. We
So-
just didn't put it in the plan.
Yeah, I think that that's a requirement, just so that it doesn't deter people from just coming in and stopping for a bit, but.
It doubles the price of your ice cream, John.
4 hours, but they could repay for another.
Well, that's
4
what I was
hours.
wondering, so if like, if you put your boat there like 7 a.m. and
No,
then
they
you.
said, it said they can extend it, but they have to pay again.
And so then that does take enforcement though, right? So then we are
It
talking
does.
about enforcing and keeping track of how long somebody's been there. I see both sides. I think regardless, we are all in agreement that we're gonna need more people.
Mhm.
And that seems like, it just is gonna, will that charging a fee really eat up that much more manpower hours? And will it deter people from coming? I don't think the deterrent factor is an issue. I don't think it will be. But yeah, then how do you enforce the extended hours? You expect people to come back, repay? Who's gonna be enforcing if they stay all day and they've only paid for the 4 hours?
Leave a contact number, like, you know.
That
like-
would be a time where they would contact the police officer for assistance, whether it's a ticket on. I don't even know, but that is something that we need to iron out, but we talked about that, because there will be people that come at 7 a.m. to go fishing. And they're not coming back until 6 p.m. or
Right,
whatever
and-
time, so it's going to
It
happen.
makes that role a customer service role, like
Yeah.
they've gotta be able to handle pissed off
And
customers.
And
it's a tough job.
that might be a weekend where we say it's free for the weekend, because we don't wanna deal with it, and maybe that's something that we decide on specific. Days like 4th of July, Can-Am, that we forego the fee, just to get people in and not have to have people, I mean, that's a conversation we can have. That might help the management part of that.
And so I guess, Lynn, after hearing all of this conversation, you.
I confused, yes.
You support, based on your role in this moving forward, that the village should be charging, and you support providing the man hours for that.
That's two-folded for me, because I live in the village and I don't want to see, people using things like that for nothing, especially the power, the water and the sewer. Parking there, we still have quite a few dollars involved down there to recover that and the manpower that's down there. As DPW, yes, I do think it needs to be charged just because of the manpower.
Okay.
You have so many hours to control that. 7 days a week.
Gotta.
There you go.
gotta-
Yes or no?
I mean, I think that. I'm a yes.
Now, here's a caveat to all this, okay, so this is a plan. So a plan is only good as an idea, so now we wanna see what the execution looks like, so after you put this in place. We probably should do a dry run, right, so put all these things in place, get the QR code, get all this developed, and let's get it ahead of the actual summer months. All right, so we're gonna execute it.
I
Let's do
think
it.
the next question is, does the committee wanna square? Does it seem like that's the easiest way to do it?
Should be.
Okay, then I
And
feel like.
so
to
if they
me,
drop it
that's
in
the
if they
easiest
drop it in
one.
the lake, they're
Okay.
$10 a pop, you can get,
And then they can just,
they plug into their phone.
You ever watch people launch a boat or take a boat out?
Yeah.
Just having somebody there to see the damage in case something causes it, just to recover the damages that they've made. I think there's so many positives to having people there.
Lynn, I think that's
Which
the
causes that.
record for the longest you've.
Yeah,
You're checking this
I
out.
was gonna say, I'm sorry for that too.
I mean, those were gonna be the longer discussions either way, so.
Implementation is
Where we
key, I
put
just wanna make that clear to everybody,
I
implementation.
will go through.
All right, are you good?
I am good, thank you.
Well,
Thank you,
Yeah.
thanks for the time.
No worries. John,
Okay.
see if you can do a little shorter.
Ideally be shorter.
Sorry.
You gotta think about the docks, John?
Right. I attached my report, it's got the stats for the month, or, for the last meetings. There's a couple of highlighted things on there. We usually have, back, which predates me, I think back even to when Butch and Eddie were here. Christine Kennedy and Steve Wood, who work over in Dexter, they always, come over and help us out during events and, like Can-Am, 4th of July, stuff like that. And assist us supplement our police department. I was talking to Paul and questioning about like liability and stuff like that, as far as if something was to happen. And he said they were always kind of employed as like a vendor, which would. What Paul believed would get them under the umbrella of the village as far as like liability and stuff. But, I talked to them and I think it would be better to actually just put them on the books as part-time to supplement the police force. We had, Officer Bachmeyer and Officer Curtis both resigned within the last year. One of them went to the state police and the other one just retired completely from law enforcement. So we do have like the two open spots that wouldn't be necessarily adding more than we already had.
How many part-time people do we have?
We have, right now, including me, there's 9. Yeah,
So there would be 2, so then there would be 11 with these 2.
right, it would be back up, yeah, we had 11. So I mean, that is what I would like to do, if you're all right with that, just get them that way. And which also would allow them, before they were strictly in like a supplemental role, like a backup out there, just for safety and numbers. But once they're on the books, then they could actually do traffic enforcement, write tickets down at the dot, whatever, they would be full.
Are they, is that what they want? They're willing.
Yeah, I
to
talked to
work
most of them and they said
part-time?
that would make it a lot easier for them
That's fine.
before we, something does happen and then we have to figure out exactly how much, So that is one thing. Also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
You need a motion to do that?
To add 2 new additional, to fill those vacancies?
Yes,
Do we need a motion for that? I'm not tracking what you.
yes,
I don't think so, if they're,
yes, we do.
we do, all right.
I'll make a motion to add Christine Kennedy and Steve Wood to the part-time police officer status.
Second that.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
All right,
Thank you.
What am I saying? Okay. I was contacted by BOCES, criminal justice program. In the past, I know last year, we had one of their students ride along with us for, I believe it was a 3-week period or whatever, and just observe us and learn about the job and fulfill their credits up at BOCES. They once again contacted me and was asking if we could do that again, send one of their students out here to ride along. Is that all right with you guys or?
I'm fine with that. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And with our recent update to our Spillman program, which is a county dispatch program. It turns out that the computer in one of our patrol cars can handle that. They got looking at it and it's actually from 2013. And doesn't actually have the specs that the latest update requires. It's under the limit where we would actually have to go out for bids and stuff. I found a replacement up at Best Buy. I just wanted to touch base with you and let you know, like, if you see that in the bills, there's gonna be.
yeah,
Is
so,
there room in the budget? for
Yeah,
next year?
yeah.
I have my equipment budget. It's-
To be clear, even if it's below that number.
Yeah.
You are supposed to put in good faith, like check Amazon and Walmart and see
Oh,
if
yeah,
they're cheaper, but you can do that online.
Yeah, and it's gotta be a certain type of like.
Yeah, and if you can't find it, it's no big deal,
Right,
but
yep,
yeah, just do a quick check to make, because
yeah,
basically the policy is below that, we just assume you did
We're
your
gonna-
best.
right,
and
yeah.
It's whatever.
yep,
Yeah.
sounds good. And then also, I was contacted by one of our equipment vendors for our tasers. And we have 3 tasers in our inventory. One of them was purchased back in like 2015. And they really have a shelf life of 5 years. So obviously that one's well out of date as far as updates and stuff. Most of the other local agencies have switched over because they're no longer making the model that we have. So they're starting to transition over to the newer one. And there's he presented me with like a 5-year program where basically you do a contract for the 5 years and they spread the price of replacing all 3 of them out over that. And they'll be under warranty. It covers all of the training needed for the annual training each year, your cartridge expenses, if for some reason you do deploy them, and also for you're required to deploy cartridges every year for the annual certification. And I do have
Are they single use?
The taser.
I guess if they're stabbing into someone's skin, you don't.
Right, yeah, it actually shoots two darts out that is connected to 25 feet of cable.
Okay.
So you don't want us just trying to shove that back in there.
That's why I'm sitting 26 feet away from.
Right, right, exactly. So I mean, I can get the exact price on that, if that's what,
Do we have a current contract with them?
we had on each individual taser there was, this would actually put it into all three of them into one contract. And would get us the new model and all the training and everything that goes with it.
You happen to know what that cost was for the other ones compared to the cost that you're asking for now?
It was pretty much like
The same?
on par with it, yeah.
Okay.
And I do have, in my contractual, there's funding in there.
Okay.
That would cover that too. So if that's something you're all right with me pursuing to get the new,
Do you want it in this budget or the next one?
Yeah, now, you need them out,
You
right?
need them now?
or ideally.
Okay.
Playing roulette right now, when you're shooting somebody.
Right. And,
Doesn't work.
and obviously the two that are, one of them's coming up on the, within the next year. The current model that we have, and then the other one's still good for a couple of years, so it'll actually overlap nicely.
Okay. Do you
And,
need
and
a,
same question, it's in your, you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's his budget.
Okay.
You know,
do you need
Yeah.
a motion, Peggy, or you're good?
It's under the threshold.
Okay.
It's in his budget, yeah.
Okay, then yes.
Cool.
and I think that's all I had. Did I do better than one?
He's gone, so, yeah.
All right, any other questions for John? Kelly, are you doing the fire department or are you just doing?
I'll do that.
Heritage areas up next?
Yes, hi, this is Dave. You should have my report. I just wanted to mention a couple things. One, that I am trying to get a status on the two laws that were sent to the village attorney for preparation to pass as local laws. And one of them has the enforcement language for the dock. So I just wanted to mention, we are trying to get a status on those.
Dave, that's with Jim or with?
Yeah, with Jim Burrows, yeah. The other thing is I just got an email, this is not in my report, from Senator Gillibrand's office stating, the funding availability of, I don't know what they call them now, legislative grants. And I thought maybe this would be something that we could apply for funding for some of the housing costs, the senior housing. And if you wanted me to, I could explore and work with the housing board to see if we could get some funding through one of these legislative grants.
Thanks, yeah, I like that. I think there's the Gashon BCA sent us a couple emails. I think Claudia Tenney also has some funds that are.
Yeah, usually both, you can apply to the Congress, well, in this, the Congresswoman and both senators. So that's what I did last year. So like I said, if you want, I could work on that with them.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Okay, that's
You
all.
You have all their contact info, I believe, right?
Yeah, I know, I have Betsy Reagan's contact information and stuff, so
Cool.
that's all I have.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Any questions for Dave, guys? All right, Kathy, you're up.
My report is in the Google Workspace, hopefully it's not for everybody. The most important thing I just wanted to highlight was we went through and interviewed 3 candidates in the end. We had over 40 apply for the visitor center assistant job. And we would like to recommend to hire Heike Bronzy, one of our local residents.
I had a question on that. I know we talked about this before. You had said there was 2 finalists that you liked. I had assumed you were gonna kick us some, like, with the recommendation that send us the
Oh, I'm
info for
sorry.
both.
Yeah.
Is that-
Makes my decision
Yeah.
now.
So I kind of, it's my fault for not communicating what I thought the process was to you more. I assumed you guys were gonna kind of filter down who you thought would be a good fit,
Okay.
make your recommendation, but I think the board would like to review I mean, I don't want to speak for all of us. I would like to
Yeah, we
review.
had two top
Heike
candidates, either one
and
we'd be
what
fine
was the
with.
other gentleman's name?
Michael, I can't
Yeah,
remember his last
so if you
name.
can send us like a little packet on both of them and kind of your pros and cons and that
Okay.
way, just because I think. You know, we may weigh things differently than you and, you know, we may go with your recommendation or we may ask more questions, but I think.
Does that mean we need to wait another month before we can actually?
Well, our
offer
next
that?
meeting's in 3 weeks, so it's February and so it would only be about, yeah, when's the next meeting? March 9th?
Wait, so did you not even see my resume?
Can't double dip. that.
Three resumes, which is crazy.
Well,
My calendar.
So saying they only have 50 people take
Well,
please not for the county or
well,
something like that. But
Well,
right.
yeah, so we're less than 3 weeks, it's in 18, no, sorry, leap year, so it was 20 days.
Okay, so you want the resumes plus our notes?
Yeah, it just, you know, I mean, we may have questions and stuff, but just send some info, what you think is pertinent.
Okay,
and
sure.
I assume you guys all want to see it, so just kick it over to the board and we'll take a look.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, when I saw your note, I was like, we should have, because we could have done
Yeah,
that
I
last
didn't
week, and
realize
I
that
just,
That's what we were supposed to have done.
I didn't know you guys we were already that far along,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Any other questions for Kathy, guys? Cool, all right. You're in the lead for quickest. All right, planning board, it's Janet, everybody here. Does anyone have any questions we should make note of for the planning board, just to have their,
I talked to Janet, but I don't know if you want me to talk about that now or during my report, about the cannabis stuff that we talked about last
oh,
month.
okay.
But I can do it when it's
Yeah,
my
that's fine.
turn.
Yeah, the conversation with Jim, I think about that.
Okay, talk to Jim. I did not talk to Jim.
Perfect.
I talked to Janet, so maybe we can.
Well, let's
compare
not
notes.
wasting people's time on accident. All right, planning board's done, engineers. You see them, Brandon.
Good evening, everyone. Not too much to report on Market Square Park already. They're on winter shutdown until April, mid-April. They were able to, end of January, they put in the Hamilton Street project, they put in the floating dock anchors. So that's done, so no water work required in the spring. Couple things, FEMA, still going back and forth. We submitted a revision Rev 1 for the scope of work change. It was pretty simple to do. But that's kind of a black box, so it goes in. We may not hear, we submitted for 96,000, so we'll see what they come back with. Still kind of going back and forth with the 77,000 first disbursement request, so every few weeks they kind of ask for more information, so hopefully we're getting close to the first disbursement. Again, I guess, Lawman's planning on remobilizing, mid-April, so they're still in winter shutdown. So end of January, we had the bid opening for the Brown Shores projects. The successful low bidder was Powis Contracting. They actually did, I guess, phase 1 to Brown Shores. Their bid was 216,000. We have funding from Ready for approximately 250. The only thing is we wouldn't, so I submitted their qualifications package. I have a notice of award ready, but I wouldn't suggest signing that until we get the easement finalized.
Jim just sent the easement today.
He sent the easement
So it has
today.
to
I
be
think
signed.
we have to look through it just to make
Okay.
sure that the language is good.
So you
And
guys look through it, then we get it signed, then we submit it to Ready after it's signed.
I think we'll want to submit it to Ready first before, to see if they have any comments. And then,
Yes, we're not
once they're
wasting-
good, then we can get it signed and through.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I would,
What is it for the notice to, is there a timeline on that bid expiration
60 days,
from bid opening, which
Bid-
was,
the 30th
okay,
of January.
okay.
So,
Ready knows, we can turn that around. Hopefully.
yeah, I think we can probably turn.
I think we can prioritize it, and they can just take a quick look at it,
Okay.
hopefully give us the okay. and then-
Yeah, cause I hate to I mean, they're a fair bit lower than the other bids. Redo it, I imagine that might be up,
Yeah,
so we don't wanna go through that, okay. But you've got what you need from Jim and you can submit it to Ready for review.
Yeah.
After you guys review it,
Yep.
perfect.
And, I don't know if that's something you wanna make a resolution to have Alex sign the notice of award once we get all the information, so if it happens, we don't have to wait.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think once Ready, if Ready approves it and the easement signs, then we should be, I'm happy to preemptively vote to
I'm not-
authorize you to sign it in that case, just so we're not scrambling
Yeah.
if we're down to that last, because we probably won't make it by next meeting anyway, but this way we don't have to worry about, doing it then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Looks like it's done by on or about August first, looks like too, huh?
Yeah, that's kind of the plan.
Yeah.
We've done. The biggest thing was equipment lead times, but we're hopeful that.
Yeah, the quicker we can award, then they can get shop drawings, get stuff on order,
Okay,
so.
makes sense.
All right, so we do, if you guys wanna, before he moves on, we can do the motion for that. I'll make a motion to sign the award contract, conditional on ready approving it and the resident signing the easement.
Second that.
Any other questions, guys? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, so I guess kind of continuing on to the other projects, the water intake project, it looks like we're ready to advertise for bid next Thursday, the 28th, pending board's approval to do so. I don't know if there was a resolution, Peggy, to do that, approval to go out to bid for the water intake. So I'll do that tonight. So pre-bid walkthrough coordinated with Lynn, and then bid openings on March 28th. Is the plan. So,
Any questions about that, guys, or any issues? Be good to get in. Right, anybody wanna? So I'll make the motion to go to bid. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Sarah seconded it. You were looking up like, who did it?
And next item, the water sewer replacement. So we submitted we application, Water Infrastructure Improvement Act is what that stands for, last 2 times. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful last couple times. Another round of WIA has opened up. It started beginning of February and it's up to June 14th is the deadline. It's never been open this early previously. But I know Alex had reached out when we got the letter was unsuccessful, what can we do and improve it? They said letters of support and perhaps, engineering agreement showing project readiness to get moved forward. Were 2 things that they threw out there that they can give additional points to the project on that. So I didn't know if the board wanted to submit another application one last time or another time to move forward with that.
I forget where we left off. You guys had said we could actually do the design work in advance and that shows even readier readiness. But what was the cost of that? It was pretty significant.
Yeah, I mean, for full design to complete, ready to go out to bid, I think I said it was like a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
Um,
And the part I forgot was when I asked if we do that and we have the funds to pay for this in advance. And then we are awarded the grant because we're showing readiness. Are those engineering costs considered part of our match? Or does it generally not happen because we pay for it? Because I know a lot of the time the grant doesn't let you spend money before you get them.
Yep, so the clauses each year, as long as the project is not substantially complete, typically by October the year that WIA comes out.
Okay.
All those costs are eligible.
Okay.
And WIA allows for engineering costs, construction, attorneys, all that stuff, so that'd be eligible to be covered by the grant or shown as a match.
So guys, the reason we might want to go that way is we've already applied twice. We do have the capital to just do this project with cash we have allocated for the sewer and water funds.
And it's gonna have to be done eventually.
It will,
anyways,
yeah.
right?
If we could maybe take 1 or 2 more swings at WIA, we'll eventually have to just pull the trigger. Who knows whether, we'll have kept pace with the cost run up over those years, so we might not have the cash to do it in 3 years, depending on whether our cash buffer or the cost of doing the work is inflated faster. I think it's arguably a good idea because it gives us a better shot of getting WIA. It's work we'd have to do anyway if we don't get the WIA, and we've already, swung at this twice.
There's no sunk cost in this, so. we're gonna do it, we'll have the design work done.
Plus he needs the money to pay for
Plus
his
he needs the money and.
boat slip now.
Talk about a boat first.
Right.
What's the time frame on the review? If we were to reapply?
Typically, so with a June 14th deadline, in past years, like announcements were just made, in January.
Okay.
From.
Are they part of the CFA?
They're separate.
process? They're, okay.
Yeah, they're separate process. I normally WIA opens up anytime from May, June, July, sometimes August. This is the first time it's ever opened up this soon. They've put more money in it this year, they're stating. And one thing about WIA, it doesn't always go by point score, they look at point score and then they try to take a look at. But project readiness, you get more points for the input.
You also get points for being rejected previously too, right? So,
I mean, they should make a night for that.
We just get used to it.
Yeah.
And as I said, the design itself is always gonna be good on the shelf, that alignment, as
Yeah.
long as there's.
So
nothing else to
I
add.
think in this case, guys, it's a decent chunk of change. We may want to just think about it and schedule a vote next, if we want to decide if we're leaning one way or the other for next meeting. It's soon.
If we do that, does that give you enough time to move forward if we wait until next month?
Well, so we wouldn't have the design done by June 14th by any means.
Okay.
One step forward is having a contract with us,
Oh, okay.
gets points.
So that by.
And then if we could show, hey, not only contract, we've got 50% of the design done, we could showcase that and say, we're that much closer. And maybe we have, seeker done, some other permitting done, we can showcase more that, hey, we're ready to rock and roll.
But 3 weeks isn't gonna make a huge difference.
No.
right? So I don't wanna if we wanted to vote on this, I would have tried to get in front of you before, because I hate to just surprise vote on something expensive.
Can you come back with a more definitive firm cost for us?
Yeah, I can actually get a proposal together on that. Yeah, it was just off the cuff approximate.
Yeah.
Obviously, one of the first things we had to do was some survey, which that would happen in the spring, so 3 weeks is not.
Okay, Cool. So yeah, if you can get us a little more detail on the detailed proposal that
Yep.
we can all review, then we can plan to vote on it next month.
I mean, if you would have said $199.99, I'd be like, okay. You said 200, I was like, oh, hold on a minute.
So.
Not the money, people get punchy around. Makes sense.
And along with that, you mentioned, Claudia Tenney and Gillibrand. Those are applications, they're due, one's March 15th and one's March 13th, I believe. Claudia Tenney didn't have anything on her website, but with all the other, I think it's all the same form that they all use in New York State on that, but, I can't tell you, I have a lot of experience. We've gotten some for some other clients here and there, but I think it's a lot political. I'd have to take a look. I mean, there would be some time to put something forward. But I would say have a better chance on WIA if we could go through that side, but this would be potentially could add some more funding, and not just this project, it could be other projects as well.
Yeah, that's something we need to decide now. How,
Is that the same grant that Dave was just talking?
yeah,
about?
so it's the congressional, they basically have money, they can decide what to do, it's congressional.
earmark.
And it's open-ended for
Yeah,
whatever project.
Just
you have
ask and
requested?
schmooze.
Yeah, they have some priorities that they try to get, but I will say it's a long process. We had some awards from
Yeah.
23 and they still haven't appropriated it,
I'd rather push for the housing piece.
Yeah, I feel like,
That
we're
seems
not
like
gonna
the
get
most-
probably 2 projects across, I mean. Obviously, give them 2 chances to say yes to different things, but I think. In this case, we might wanna just focus on the housing authority, and it's enough of a long shot that it's probably not. Worth throwing your effort in.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially with only a couple weeks, it's hard to do.
Yeah, yep. So, then I had my Massive Barracks update on the sheet, if there's any questions.
All our hopes on you, Dave, so. Give
Yeah,
that kind of
Corey,
thing.
just very quickly on
Yep.
Madison Barracks. You've gotten one set of revised as-built, and now you're waiting on a second. Is that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, I had asked some questions on some conduit and whatnot, and when I talked to Pat Ward, he mentioned the electrician's putting some additional detail to show on the as-built drawings.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have I think right now, the biggest outstanding item is the asphalt, because that's temperature dependent, so,
Right,
but
right.
it would be nice to think that by the time that's taken care of, all of these other things will have been wrapped up as well.
I'd like to think so. Yeah, I mean, the signage should be a pretty simple
Yep.
exchange.
Okay.
So-
When Mike called me about some of this stuff, and his main concern is like, just give me your final punch list, because they've been, his frustration has been, from his point of view, he sees, where he's given a list of things that need to be done.
Yep.
He starts whittling them down, and then there's a new list. So I'm under the impression that this is pretty comprehensive. There's not additional items we expect to add to their,
No, I wouldn't, I guess I
'cause
wouldn't,
that's, you know, I told him I'm not.
I wouldn't characterize it the same way that he.
I sure, I
has, you
I
know?
get it, but I think at this point, I wanna tell him this is,
Yeah.
this is the.
Yeah,
you know,
the only
do
thing that was
8:13, we're
added,
done.
the only thing that was added were the signs that they didn't erect according to the approved plan, so.
I just, you know, that
you
was,
know,
that was a
but
call.
They essentially
Something
added
like
to
that.
the list, not
Yeah.
us.
So.
I'm glad you're on a grade.
I know, that's why I nominated him, because I knew we could do it.
He's a bulldog.
Yeah, I love it.
I love it.
Anything else, guys?
No, I think that's about it.
Any questions for BCA? Cool. All right. Next up is Peg.
Mine will be the shortest reportable. I don't think.
Boom, keep going.
I think technically Janet had you beat because, all right, community orgs, you guys wanna start? Chamber?
For the chamber, we've got our annual meeting coming up March fifth at Old McDonald's Farm, the Gathering Barn there, 6 p.m. All are welcome. Chance to do a little taste of the chamber and highlight what we've got coming for this year there. Couple other things happening in March. We're gonna do some community service, March 23rd. Do a little village cleanup, prep for the eclipse, just have a chance to volunteer and give back there. For March 30th, we're gonna do an Easter egg hunt in conjunction with the American Legion. Kind of couple that with a membership drive and try to get some more people engaged with what we have going on. And then, lastly, unfortunately, looking ahead to the Wonderland event in May. We're just not gonna have volunteer hours and support to pull that off, so that's gonna get pulled. Unfortunately, but I don't know if there's anything for you I need to specifically do to cancel that application and event stuff, but yeah, it's. So,
I missed the date on the Old McDonald's farm. When was that again?
March 5th, Tuesday, March 5th, 6 p.m. there will.
And you guys are doing 6 p.m. as the meeting and then,
Yeah, that's kind of the social reception, and then 6:30, more formal meeting, elect the new board of directors slate.
so don't be late, you'll miss the fun part.
Yeah, don't be late on the parts, exactly.
Cool. Any questions for Chamber? All right, thanks, Scott.
Yep, thank you.
Anybody else here that we need to? Dave, you got anything for the Historical Society? You wanna? Cool, all right. Done with community orgs. So all of the stuff I had to talk about is either in a line down in correspondence or was the text stuff for the office, so I'm good. I will tie Peggy with a short report.
Nice.
I'll go next real quick. I'll talk real fast. So LDC. For the LDC, nothing to report, though. We still probably have to start kicking that conversation up. I had a couple LDC members. They reach out to me and say, hey, what's going on? And they start talking about Stone Hospital. I said, I don't want to talk about Stone Hospital. That's not us. Anyway, for the park or for the rec committee, we submitted our budget. We went from 12,500 to 15,000. The town is going to match that as they always do. They have a line by line itemization of what they're looking for, so that's good. We're also going to start re-engaging as we approved last year before it got cold, right when it did get cold, the dog park. So we're going to re-energize that committee, that effort, and we're going to start getting that moving forward here. So maybe we'll have that in place sometime early summer. Okay, baseball signups and all that good stuff will be happening here shortly. I will publish that once it does.
Did they decide to keep baseball here or they?
I got to get back to you on that one.
Okay,
Gotta get
because
back
that
to
was a big thing.
Yeah, so that's why I don't know yet.
Okay.
They may have voted on it. I
Sorry,
wasn't,
making
no.
sure.
No. They may have
People
voted
been
on it.
asking on Facebook and.
Yeah, I saw that. That's why I was like, I don't know the answer to that question.
They may have voted on it. I was out of state last week, when they had the rec committee meeting. I'll let you guys know, okay, what they decided to do.
Yeah.
Cause that was a very contentious topic.
Mhm.
That's all I have. Any of your questions?
Okay. Thanks, man.
Yep.
Well, you're up.
I want Greg to go first, cause mine's long, sorry.
I just mentioned the meeting that the mayor and I had with the Heritage Area Advisory Committee and Chamber of Commerce to talk about marketing and which groups do what. And we, as part of their budget request, they've submitted a scope of work, including marketing activities, and we're gonna take a look at that and see if there might be some efficiencies we can derive from maybe shifting some activities from one group to another, so. So that should be happening next few weeks. And that's all I can.
Great. Any questions for Greg? You wanna go last and let Sarah go too, or?
Sure,
All
yeah,
right.
go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just starting my rounds on all the different boards and committees, beginning with the Hay Memorial Library next week.
They're efficient. They're
They're a
good.
good group.
They're probably the most organized.
Their emails are
Oh,
like,
there you go.
It's all Dewey Decimal.
They're good. They're legit.
They said anybody but Ron Mildren, that's the.
That's a fact.
They did say that.
I
In the
haven't
minutes.
read a book in years.
All right. Any other questions for Sarah? All right, Kelly.
All right. I do have I threw some things in here that I had questions, which some of that has already been addressed, like the eclipse we've already talked about.
Yeah.
Marketing, Greg just mentioned, I was looking for an update on that, as to what we were doing with that. I did speak to Janet Quinn about the cannabis, which we discussed last month. I did get her take on that. But to start, the fire department, of course, with the power and all the trees down, they were extremely busy. They had 14 fire calls, 22 EMS, 23 other. Those are all the calls for people's homes with trees down, lines down. They did 5 pump details, 5 mutual aid given to other surrounding areas, and we received 1 mutual aid that we needed assistance from another department. Last month, I talked to you that they had established a grant application committee. After looking at the grant application requirements and what the grant would give them extra bonus points for and what their focus was, the committee has asked me to come to you because what they need to do, they need our permission to do. Because they share our building, they are asking to do a 20 by 40 addition to the back of their portion of the building, which would allow them to do things that are New York State mandated for safety procedures, things like they're supposed to have an emergency shower, they're supposed to have their gear separate from common areas. Their gear often has cancer-causing carcinogens on it, and it's not supposed to be in the common area. They have no space over there, so that would allow them some additional space to kind of create some safe zones. But because we own the building, you know, their question is, you know, how and can they apply for a grant?
Do you know when this grant is due?
It's due soon, so like they need an answer kind of quickly. They did say, because I was like, hey, well, if you're gonna do that, how about putting in for the roof of this building? They were like, yeah, we could do that. So I don't, you know, it's
Okay.
part of it.
Yeah.
It may or may not be approved. I know Lynn has already done some pricing for budget purposes for redoing the roof.
Yeah.
I know, did he talk to you about engineering?
He did,
Okay.
yes.
So their question was, is it cheaper, you know, what kind of a build would they need to know, you know, how much money do they put in for the grant application? You know, do we want them to do,
Is there a limit?
no,
Okay.
but, you know, that part of the building is like cinder block.
Yeah.
You know, can they get away with doing like wood structure with a, you know, like, what do we want, basically? And then the question begs, which we can get into that part later, if we hire an engineer to do the drawings, obviously that's not covered under their grant application either. So is that something that we would be willing to maybe split with the town and the fire department, split that engineering cost 3 ways? Where we can help offset that cost?
Couple questions. One,
I don't know if I'm gonna have an answer. I'm
yeah,
just gonna ask questions.
yeah, and we can move the discussion to email as well, and
Yeah.
you know, you're not wrong. This probably could have been discussed before, because I did see this, and I had some questions, but are you all concerned about the plan of potentially moving them over to the LDC?
They
And
talked
would
about-
this be, one, a good opportunity to do that, or two, if we do this, are they obligated to, like, if they move, are we gonna have to reimburse the state because it's no longer the fire hall?
They did talk about that, and the way the grant, I mean, best case scenario, yes, they get a whole new station. Brand new stations are like $4, $5, $6 million. This grant application is only for $1 million. There's no way they're gonna get the funding for that. They don't have the structure, unless we're willing to pony up some money. I don't know if they're gonna,
Well,
that would be best case scenario. But the way, they did talk about that. The committee decided this was a better option for them, so I don't wanna speak for
Sure.
them. That's,
the one I wonder, and Corey and Brendan, you guys may have opinions here. How often like, when we talked to the Clayton people, they had said, one of the things they do is they seek a grant to do a study on the feasibility of the build. And then they use that study to justify a future grant. So it might be that, like, we
They
could
don't, I
use
don't know
that
if they have
money.
enough time to
Yeah.
do that, though. The grant application has to be submitted by April.
Sorry, so the idea would be, if we decide this isn't something we wanna do because it limits our ability to do that in the future, or for whatever other reason. It may be worth saying, could we apply for that money as a feasibility study grant to determine what it would take to build a new hall, right? We're not gonna get the
I don't
cost
know
to
if
build it.
I don't know if the grant is set up like that. I think it's through the state.
Yeah,
And they're pretty specific about what they were looking for, and it was things like firefighter safety, it was creating
Not
a
a
safe,
brand new station.
it was not a brand new station. So, yes, would they love a new station? Absolutely. Feasibility, Joel thinks this is putting a Band-Aid on a bigger, which I agree with him,
Sure.
but money-wise, are we in a position to build a new station in the next 5, 10, even 20 years? I don't know that we are.
got it.
But will this
Program.
buy them more time? They've had that space for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
And they're just running out of space, and they're kind of out of compliance. The New York State is asking them to put things in place, and right now they're not in
There's no way to
compliance.
push out.
This would put them in compliance, so
Okay.
that gets them more points, I guess, if
Oh,
you
I
would
wouldn't
look
mind.
at it.
Also talk about maybe other options, like, I mean, we get creative with this thing. What if we were to give them this space and this, like offices or the Union Hotel? I'm not saying that something's feasible, but
Right.
are there other options out there,
Mhm.
Or
Can we-
retrofit the space as
Yeah.
a larger station, yeah.
You need to move that way?
They don't, but thanks for offering. I like
Try
that they
sell the property.
decided to go off the back of the building and not the front of the
Sure.
building. I think this way it would be
Yeah.
less of an issue because it's just taking up that space.
Okay.
And 20 by 40 isn't.
How big is it?
super-
So what do they need?
They just need a
from
verbal
us?
from us that we support it. I don't know if
How big is 20 by
that's a
40?
like, I don't know how. We're very confused because we own the building, so we're not really sure how this is going to be perceived. I don't know if we're gonna have to
They-
sign with them.
So I'm assuming it's like from this wall
Yes.
over and then back.
So their
Is
bay
it
is
back
over,
20 or back 40?
I don't know.
Okay.
They just told me 20 by 40 and I'm the mouth that's asking.
Are they talking about just wood frame structure or brick?
That's
and
what they
mortar?
needed. They were looking for answers
I think
from,
it's 20 feet that way.
that would make sense, from the engineer, what would be the best, concrete would last longer, probably.
So we're not committed to doing anything if they don't get the grant. And all we're
Correct.
saying now is we approve them seeking it, and it wouldn't be a disaster if they got. the
That's
money to-
basically what they're looking for, is,
Okay.
would we support it? And then we can do logistics
Yeah,
after, I don't.
yeah, and I mean, if it's like, if they say you get it, but it's gonna cost. Sometimes you have to decline or grant you one if they need, if it's gonna cost us $100,000 to do it, we don't have the funds. We may have
Well,
to
it would
say
cost
no.
them, remember, I mean,
Sure,
they're
but
the
you
ones
gotta
doing
put
it,
them-
so it's not,
yeah.
ultimately, it shouldn't cost us anything, it's them, they're their own entity.
Do you know what the
However-
match is on this?
I don't,
Okay.
And again.
I guess the
um,
only, I'm
is
nervous
there-
to say yes to them if we're not sure we would do, like, I don't want them to spend a bunch of money. Get an award and then we're like, oh, actually, this isn't gonna work. This is way a problem, so.
Do you want to see the application before it goes in?
Yes, but I also, well, like, I guess, did you talk to Lynn yet about it?
Yep.
He's okay with the
supports it.
space?
I asked him, he was the first person I asked.
Yeah, I just think like
And
parking
he said, yeah.
and what's there, I don't see an obvious problem with it.
The only thing, it is gonna take up their parking, cause
Yeah.
they park back there, but again, it's their space, it's what they do with it.
Are there different solutions? So it looks like the problem right now we're trying to solve is to get the gear that causes cancer out from where they're currently.
Emergency shower, they listed some other things, which I did not, so I could be missing a few things.
No,
but,
that's fair. I just want to make sure.
So rather than like, well, do we need to make a decision on this now?
we need to give them permission or they can't apply, so it's
When-
either
and
we
when's
say
the
yes,
application due?
April, and they're not,
In
April
April?
15th, and they.
Yeah, they need to
Work with
decide.
firefighters, they don't move quickly, so if I don't tell them yes or no.
Unfortunate.
Well, I mean,
So they save all
when
the
it comes
for
to
one thing.
paperwork, they don't move quickly, let's
Alright,
put it
so
that way.
what do you-
I need to say, yes, you have our permission, or we need to hold off, and then that's probably they're gonna miss
How
their
much,
window.
how much is it gonna cost them to put this together? They're doing this themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think
No-
we
no
give them the
cost.
permission to put it in, they're not,
No,
right?
no cost to us. I mean, what?
No
And they're not,
cost to us, no
we're not
cost to
causing
them.
them to spend $5,000 on
No.
an application, so.
Nope.
I'm fine with that, if you guys are.
Okay, so
The
it's
one
okay to
thing
tell them.
I was gonna, Lynn did talk to me, I was gonna have one of our architects come up, I don't know the building stuff, but he started quoting code stuff, like even the addition, you gotta look at all the existing building. You gotta bring up the code, does it have enough insulation, this and that, he's like,
Mm.
This is
he
from the
goes,
50s,
that
this
building's
building?
gonna be north of $500,000 to $1 million, I mean.
To do the addition, or because the
Because you
rest
gotta-
of the building.
I think has to get caught up to code.
Well, potentially, and
But that's
then,
the whole building, not just their space, that's this too.
Again,
We're not up to code in here.
that doesn't necessarily,
Yeah, I don't know.
you know, that may be the reason we say no, but if they're willing to write it out, then we can make that call later, it's not gonna.
I just think if the engineer, whoever they get, I told them that I would reach out to you. And again, if you end up giving them, that's a cost that either they take on or, I don't,
yeah, I'm just, right now I can have some just conversations about, you gotta look at this and that, I mean, we typically see in some of these buildings, I mean, depending what the intended use, that changes a lot of things as well, but, yeah, we've done some fire stations before here and there.
I say we just give them the,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
And then we'll, tell them if they want to, they want to send it over for us to review before they submit it, that's nice, but I don't think,
You guys do the drawings, one stipulation. Find a place to put a fire pole, okay? Just need a fire pole. So we can.
they're old and antiquated, they take them all out.
it's not what you want support. All right.
Is it okay if I give them your number to contact if they need more information about engineering, or did
Yeah.
Lynn already do it?
I don't know if Lynn had or not, I was gonna
Okay,
pick a
I
date
didn't
next week.
because
Do you want to
Okay.
vote on that?
I don't know if we need one.
That's fine. I mean, there's nothing we're obligated.
No, I
So
just
give-
wanted
yeah,
to
give me
give
a-
you permission.
Okay,
Okay, all right. The only other thing was I reached out to Janet Quinn just to get feedback on if we were to receive an application today, are we in a position to answer the question? And I provided all of the information that she gave to us. And basically she said if we were to receive an application, they would look at it like a liquor store trying to open. They might have to do a special permit, but she did say, sorry. Our law has no specific regulations regarding this type of business. But she felt that it wouldn't be treated any differently than a liquor store, gift shop, bookstore in terms of requirements for its locations. Technically, it's probably much like a liquor store. The only thing, no doubt there would be some other concerns. We're thinking of other surrounding residents will have comment, which she mentioned the ATM, which I didn't put in here, but they had a special permit for that
Because it's
ATM
not-
that went in,
it's
that the
not-
residents.
Commercial zoning area.
Correct,
Yeah.
the residents around in that area, came to the planning board and offered their concerns about whether or not they like, so we might have that situation if someone,
So,
put in an application. She just recommended that perhaps we get a hold of that county planning, I don't know what department of something, local government
POS.
services. Mhm.
Yeah.
And maybe they can give us some more information.
I wrote down to do for myself. I talked to Jim a little bit. This is pretty similar to what he said. if it's cool with you, I'll take your report. Jim's input and just get a thread with the 5 of us and the 2 of them.
Okay.
And just make sure we're all on the same page as to like.
I just wanna make sure we're covered if
what we're
somebody were
looking
to
at,
come in.
Yeah. Cause the way she's saying it, there's a few options we could take and we can maybe make that decision and say we want to go one path or the other ahead of time.
Mhm.
So that it don't look like we're playing favorites. Yeah.
The only, having said that, the only thing I still feel comfortable, I still think we should do something with the open container. Open smoking law, and I would like to see us do something with that
I say we trade.
soon. Huh? Trade.
Yeah. You can't smoke in public, but. No, I'm teasing. Yeah, I think I agree. I think, maybe we should do some looking, see if we can find a couple communities, see if anyone has a public smoking ban. And see how it's implemented,
Yeah,
because
I don't know.
the rules, but
West Carthage has a.
They have
I
a-
think locally.
Okay.
Who has it.
let's just see how they do it.
They
and
do have a
see if we could-
dispensary, but I don't know if they have a no, because right now we have a no open container law. I thought. I know
That's
before
statewide.
Mark got off, he said that we could just add. The
Public
consumption,
consumption.
I
Yeah,
think
you
he
just-
said we could add public
But I wanna
consumption
see-
of cannabis
I
to
wanna
that law.
see if anyone else has done that,
Mhm,
because I don't wanna pay Jim Burrows
True,
thousands of dollars when we can just
Right.
Google it if we can save some money. So I'll summarize everything up, get us on one sheet
okay,
of paper. And then, we can poke around and try and find a town that has that.
I don't think we're in a huge hurry. I just don't wanna have to do
Yeah.
it after an application comes in. I'd rather. Be ready
Yeah,
to know
there's,
what we're doing.
as
before
of
we-
now, there's still no way for anyone. Or very, very few ways for people to apply, like you have to be very specific, I think they're still on. You have to have a marijuana conviction.
You know what's happening, Carthage,
Yeah,
like you said,
yeah, yeah.
Carthage had
Yeah.
it, so it's not out of the possibility.
No,
I
that's-
just wanna
that's
be sure
true.
we're ready.
Cool,
Okay.
alright. Anything else?
Nope, that was it. You,
Any questions for Kelly? Oh, and one thing I wanna comment on circle back to the docs, I meant to say this at the end. There's like, I forget exactly the term, I think it's like disagree but commit. I think Ron will agree, like, we decided to do it that way, we will try to make it work, regardless of whether or not we voted yes or no, if that's the plan. For the docs, we're all responsible to make our plans work, whether we voted no or not, so. We'll work on that together and make sure we get it
okay,
as smooth as we can,
Obviously
Perfect.
supportive. Yeah.
so.
that's all I had. The only thing I had was about the marketing, but it sounds like we'll have more information about that later. Okay,
All right, anything else for Kelly?
that wasn't as long as I thought, yay.
All right, correspondence, the 2 dank letters are pretty run of the mill, nothing exciting happening, we are still seeing. A fair amount of not infiltration, more than likely it's some sumps. We're metering 9 and 8 million gallons and then we're treating at the sewer facility 15 and 14. So lots of melting and snowing and remelting this February and January, so that's what that's coming from, but everything's normal. I have a letter from Dean, which you guys are all on. I didn't copy everybody on the reply because he copied their entire board and our entire board, and I just didn't want to be in 400 inboxes, but I did just let him know, basically, the village doesn't have any real authority or mechanism to solve disputes between neighbors about groundwater. Basements flood here. I told him what I did at my property to deal with it. He replied to thanks, I just want somebody to look at it because at one point, one of the management companies, I don't know if it was this one or the previous one, had said, at least verbally to him, some admission of, we think, yeah, we could handle our runoff better. So he's trying to get that solved. Obviously, you guys have a ton of spare money, so we think you'll just take care of it.
Actually, it started, I think, when the ball fields were lifted,
Yeah.
and so more water.
So I basically just
Drain
encourage him to say,
there.
hey, this is what happens when your bedrock's low or high, I guess. Here's some options, but I didn't want to leave him hanging, but I didn't think I needed everybody on there for a long discussion. The letter from you guys, we don't have that in here. We received it, like you said before, we're in this with you, but it's not gonna be a simple matter of saying, yes, we have this cash for you, because
Well, it's not for us, Bill Johnson property.
understand.
We
Understand.
manage it, Bill Johnson property. Village of Sackett Harbor care of Sackett Harbor Housing Authority.
Public comment.
It's fine, I mean,
I'm sorry, he brought it
the
up.
main thing is,
Yeah,
we're getting along here, but,
yeah, sure.
you know. To answer the letter is, we aren't gonna be able to allocate 75K a year for the next 4 years to solve the problem. We're trying to solve the problem in other ways, and we can get into that
Right.
more specifically, but. You know, talk to Dave, I'm happy to sit down with you guys if I can help with the grant writing. We're gonna do our best to help you, but, you know, we don't have a spare 300K either, so.
I know Lynn reached out and he hasn't gotten anybody to call. Remember, we asked Lynn to contact them to go meet with them to talk about their list.
Who is he reaching out to?
I'm not sure, but I was told
Okay.
today, no one has.
All right, I'll make sure to sync you guys up. He might be calling the management company.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's probably,
I'll take care of that.
so,
And.
but I guess I'm not here to talk, so.
You're all right. We're, you know, we've got public comment in a minute if you wanna chime in,
Sure.
but, all right, anything on that, guys? All right, we don't have anything in old business. We have a bunch of events here. I've looked through all of them. I don't know if you guys had a chance to. I think the only thing of note for me in the first
Oh, yeah.
three is that the Grand Tactical asked for 5K from us, which I don't
I
think,
saw that too.
uh,
I was like, what?
I'm gonna start throwing events if we start giving out.
No.
No, I think that's, you know, I think it was just a request they made to try and, I think they just put it in. I don't think they expect it or need it. I think State Parks is a little better funded than we are, and they'll be all right without it. I'm not under the impression that it's a contingent, like, I think we can approve their event and say we're approving it, but obviously saying no to the 5K. Bash for Cash was easy. They're looking to close the street just between Woolsey and Washington. I think we just let them know, obviously, like, make both of those streets passable, so their closures are on the inside of the block. It did say they weren't planning on using the street for anyone in the application, but
No, I think they're just worried about people walking
Okay.
on the LVC, like the
In and
overflow
out.
lot.
okay.
Or just having all the people milling
Yeah, I
about,
mean, it's fine. I think it's very easy for people to get around that block,
right?
so I have no problem with that.
The only thing, I had a question about the Grand Tactical and the $5,000, that was my question.
Yeah.
The summer solstice, the only thing I had for that one was the timing and closing the road.
So they were not planning on closing the road. That's, if
It says
you.
they're running on Main Street though.
If
between
you look at
6th and-
where the route is, there's a little comment sort of on the route page. Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, it has them running down Main Street.
Yeah, but they start in. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm mixing up the 1812.
Yeah, this solstice has them running down Main Street at 6 PM on a Saturday.
It's a Thursday, I think. He said
I thought it was a Saturday.
Thursday evening. Oh, shit, let me check. Maybe I don't.
I don't have my phone, so I can't look up the calendar date. Yeah.
Where's your phone, Kelly?
At home on the couch where I left it. I forgot. Felt good.
The solstice is 20th.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a Thursday. It was Thursday night. And with a run of that size, I don't think we'd actually really need to close the street so much as just have them at the start. Stop cars coming down for a hot minute. They had not put in here.
Oh, could I chime in? Sorry.
Yeah.
I put on mine, obviously, like, if you guys approve it, approved, but under the condition, it doesn't mention any volunteers, like the 1812 in the Sackett Marathon. They all mention having volunteers or like route marshals and stuff at crossings and everything like that. I see the solstice that just has checked like services needed police. So I just wanted to make sure they had something in plan I mean, obviously, we're not gonna,
Yeah, I know that's why he did move it from the Eclipse Day, was he said because he's running one in Syracuse and Rochester, he was afraid he wouldn't get volunteers, so. I can message him and make sure that he understands he'll need to do that himself. I was gonna need to try and do an evening weekday event, just to mix it up.
Is the finish line also on?
The
Main
finish
Street?
line is at Ambrose and,
Oh,
Washington.
but it sounds
The other
like
dock.
from here, finish line with timing mats, so that road's gonna have to be closed. If they want a timing mat, we can have cars going over that. So that means that road would be closed, even though they didn't ask for it,
Okay.
right? A timing mat goes
Trying
across
to
the
think of where
road.
that
there's
is,
no car
yeah.
over that, I don't think.
This is Dave Altieri. Could I speak to the funding question for the Grand Tactical?
Sure.
A funding request was given to Shannon. And that was done partly based upon the fact that when the Grand Tactical was held here in 2010, the village board at that time did provide funding to support the Grand Tactical. New York State actually doesn't provide a whole lot of funding at all. It's mostly the Battlefield Alliance and fundraising they do. So, but along with that, there was a budget submitted which shows where all of the the projected funding is coming from. So I would just ask that you not sort of reject it out of hand, but at least give it consideration during your budget deliberations.
Sure, yeah, I mean, I think we can approve the event without approving the request, and then we can talk about the request separately if there's merit to it and we want to dig in.
David,
Right.
we don't support it with the $5,000, does the event still happen?
Yes, we'll just have to, I'm Clay Nance, I'm the president of the Battlefield Alliance. And we have to substantially reduce elements of the event.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my main concern is we have 5,000 set aside for small event grants that we chunk out in 500s. So this is asking for
Oh,
basically our entire event
Well,
budget.
whatever
Yeah.
the village can put forth will help us. We'll just have, I mean, we were planning on trying to provide breakfast to the reenactors for Saturday and Sunday. We could cut that out, I suppose. Less porta johns. I mean, there's different things we could cut. We are applying for grants, the bed tax application, and then we've got something with the Northern New York Community Foundation. We've got a grant application in with
Okay.
those folks. So, yeah.
Thanks, Clay. Yeah, so we can talk about that separately in budget. Obviously, we can't allocate 5K for next year's budget anyway. So we'll talk about that during the budget things if we have docs from Dave. But as far as the event goes, I don't see any issue with the
Right.
Grand Tactical event application, Bash for Cash. 1812, there is also that Sunday run. Or sorry, is it the Saturday
Saturday
afternoon?
3:30.
But they did change that. That's the one I was thinking about.
I'm
right?
so confused right now. This is like version 17.
I know.
So what's the difference in this one?
This was approved contingent on a few changes.
The route change. Yeah.
But they have a lot of typos or something in here because on page, I don't even know what page this is, it says the race starts at 3:30 and then letter E says race begins at 2, runners should be off the course at 3:15. So they can't be off the course if it hasn't started until 3:30. I don't know
Oh.
what time it actually starts. There's an addendum that talks about that 5K race.
Yeah.
It
Gotcha. Oh, I
says
see.
start at
3:30.
3:30, but then
It does.
E says race starts at 2, runners should be off the course by 3:15.
Yeah, so the way they jogged the course was to keep them from having any Main Street closure. And they start by running out, what's that, Ray, and then what's the next?
That looks like it's right across from Goodfellas.
What's between Ambrose and Ray? I'm drawing a blank.
Bayard,
Bayard,
thank you.
thanks. So they run out Bayard and then cut back so that by the time they're down on the other side of the visitor center lawn, they're spread out and they don't have to close anything. So they start from the visitor center parking lot, They run in, turn back. There'll probably be 150 people, so they're, by a half mile and they're spread out, and then they do their big loop. And they come back into the center. So that, I think we had said they were approved to start advertising for that date, but we wanted them to change the route so that there would not have to be a Main Street closure
Yeah,
on
I'm
middle of
just
Saturday.
confused at the timing now. They have 3 different times on this
Okay.
page.
Yeah, I mean, we
What
can
time
ask them to
is it
clarify.
starting?
I think if it's 2 or 3, we have the same consensus.
Actually, 2 would be better, because it's away from dinner time.
My guess is it's what, I think this is the part you need to ignore, because every other part makes sense together. So I
Okay.
think the 3:30, if we say that maybe that's their finish, but they say on the other side, this is packet pickup at 1 to 2, race starts at 2, runner should be off the course by 3:15. And again, if they have to move the time,
No, because we don't, it does say 30-minute, they do want Ray and Hill closed for 30 minutes. But it
Yeah,
doesn't
but
say what
that's-
time at 30 minutes.
oh, I see.
What time do they want that closed? At the beginning of the race, in the middle of the race?
At the beginning. Because
And
that's when they're
what-
together.
If, I'm just thinking liability, I
Yeah.
know they have to have insurance, but if a runner, God forbid, gets hit by a car because we don't close a road, are we somehow opening ourselves up to
No,
something?
I mean, we can talk to our insurance company to
just
clarify,
don't know.
but we generally don't close all the roads for runs.
True, no, you're right,
And it's,
I just, because it's so close to Main Street, I worry with all the people down there.
yeah. Um,
I'm so
All right.
confused about why
So-
we're doing this that way.
You wanna do a mass approval or you guys wanna go one by one?
I think we're good to approve them all unless anybody has any, I mean, obviously, we can clarify with them about the timing and make sure that's covered.
I think the Solstice one, we just need to verify that they have volunteers, because John's right, that should not fall on us.
Yeah.
So volunteers on that one, maybe confirm the time on the 1812 one.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm okay with the rest of them.
Make a motion to accept with the changes that we just discussed.
For, just real quick, so I don't get this wrong,
Yeah.
Concom for 1812 Saturday
5K,
Yeah.
yep.
and volunteer,
For the summer solstice,
For the
just make sure that
solstice.
they have people. Okay,
right?
Yep, and you can't spray paint our roads anymore.
I like that. They're going to.
The
We should.
pro housing
They may
community
wash it.
designation.
So that's after the, I'm just gonna do the 4,
Oh,
he's got the 4 events, so it's the first 3 and then the last one, I don't know.
Okay, you're gonna.
Yep, so do the items, so on new business, bullet point 1, 2, 3. And
Okay.
6, we're voting to approve with the 2, just 2 caveats for me, I'll get in touch with them.
Okay.
Ron made the motion, I'll second it. Any other questions, guys? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. Okay, Pike Day proclamation, I sent you guys an email, it's
Saw that.
pretty straightforward, it's just a
Okay. Did you
fancy-
read that one? Fancy that.
fancy pants thing, you guys cool with this?
Yep.
Cool. I think, I don't know if we need a vote, but I think we should do it, and then
It's
I'll
just
send
like
you all
what,
a
a
form letter.
proclamation that we're.
Yeah, and I think it'll just look nice if we do all 5 signatures, so I'll set it up and kick it over to you via sign now, and you can. I'll stamp it, all right? I don't really think we need to vote on that if we're gonna sign it, and then the other one is the pro housing community designation. I sent you guys that as well. It doesn't cost us anything or obligate us to do anything, and it is required for half the grants in the state, so I think it's kind of not optional, but.
Yeah.
Before I send this letter, I figured I'd at least confirm you guys were okay with it.
Thank you.
All right. That is all I have. Unless you guys got anything else before we jump into public comment? Anybody want to run away? No.
Yep.
All right, we'll open it up to public comment. I'm gonna start with Zoom first. Just in case there's anyone on here. I'm not seeing anybody. If you're talking on Zoom, hit unmute. All right, and then I'll open it up for the room. Good. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm just step through all that, just to let you guys know about a rugby tournament we're having at the Madison Barracks. So it started off as a very small thing, but now it's turned into like a big 26 to 28 team adventure. Teams were coming from Canada, Potsdam, all over Saratoga, women's teams and men's teams. The social was supposed to be at the Legion, but now we've since gotten the okay from 1812 to basically turn it to a pub crawl from the Legion to 1812, and then we got also access to the Sackett Hall as well. So we just wanted to let you guys know, and we're gonna turn it to like an annual thing. It used to be called a Blue Balls Tournament back in the
I was
nineties.
just gonna say, I remember back in the day when
Right,
we used to
right.
do it before, it was very crazy.
Right,
All you
so
rugby
we're
players
trying
trashed the
to,
place.
yeah, so that's the thing. There is going to be some shenanigans.
Yeah.
Right, so I just wanted to let the residents know, what's going on. We're gonna try and like basically we have volunteers and stuff, and if there's anything the team, because I'm a representative of the team, I'm pretty sure that they're making me president of the club, they're deploying. Soon, because most of the rugby team is active duty or veterans.
When is it again?
It's March 2nd. And so basically we want to turn it into, like, if you ever heard the Can-Am's rugby tournament and Lake Placid, we kind of want to do that for Sackett's.
Cool.
And so we're gonna have at least 300 people come through this town kind of thing. So I just wanted to let everyone know, and maybe we could turn it into like a annual event kind of thing. This year, I guess would be like kind of almost like a proof of concept kind of thing. And we also wanted to give forth, like, if you guys need like guys to help out with the eclipse, like those types of events, we do have soldiers that do need time. If we volunteer, they do get promotion points, all those types of things. We just have to do a little bit of paperwork for that. But otherwise, we're just gonna, we like to give back to the community kind of stuff. If they accept us to come and do our shenanigans, we'll definitely give back to that type of community as well. Also kind of wanted approval to like give signs. So we do have approval to park at the marina, and we told them all, like, we have a map drawn out. I can send an email if you'd like, of how we have the Greens Ward, or whatever we call it, Patterson Barracks Ward, all mapped out. We will have Rich Fender, Boots Brewery's coming out. We'll have City Dogs are coming out just to provide food and sustenance. And then we'll have 6 Porta Johns out there as well. So
In the barracks.
in the road in between the two
Okay,
that leads to the marina,
gotcha.
and that'll be cut off. And then we've already put out the email, don't park in front of the residential areas, all that kind of stuff that you were concerned about earlier. So we're trying to keep it like nice and organized and keep the chaos somewhat controlled in a direction, essentially. So if we could make some signs that like, hey, this way to the Legion, this way to 1812, and then we'll take them all down. We're not gonna paint the roads. And-
Temporary signs.
And so it's going to, we're gonna sing songs at the ballroom, try to keep it all the shenanigans indoors. Because, there's residents out here, kids, and songs aren't exactly, yeah, so
There are songs.
we'll try to keep those in the ballroom. And then, you might, if you see just a bunch of short wearing big dudes walking by your house, please don't be alarmed. So I just
Brandon
Back
mentioned this to
before
me.
the third alarm closed, they
Yeah.
closed right after one of the rugby tournaments where they literally did beer belly slides through the entire, I was there, I remember it. So I'm like,
Yeah, so we're trying to revive that. but
Yeah.
maybe That's why we
be
don't.
less of that kind of shenanigans and more of the appropriate. shenanigans.
So, yeah, we were talking about this last week, and, I let them know. It was already in planning, they're over in
Well,
the
they're in
barracks,
the
we
barracks,
don't
so we
need
have
an
no-
approval, but.
But I appreciate.
He
the
had said,
heads up.
hey, if we wanna put signs up, and I was like, oh, you can come to the meeting. If I thought of it, I would have just had public comment at the beginning, save trouble, but.
It's all right. I already got a sub from my.
Yeah, I know. Mary Grace is texting me like, right, it's a long one.
Yeah.
It's
I-
cornhole night.
Thank
so.
you for the heads up.
No, it's
But yeah,
It's
so.
gonna be good. I think
we
you've
don't-
seen, you've had a couple of games.
Yeah, I've
Previously,
been
'cause I put
posting,
it
kind of
on.
like trying to let everyone know that we're kind of
Yeah.
reviving it back. And
I think I've seen it on the second.
now that I'm like going to be more of in a leadership role, because a lot of our guys are deploying this year, I kind of want to bring the team out of the veteran status, out of just purely veteran status, and bring it open to public status. And the only way you can do that is with community support. So that's why I'm saying, if you guys need any volunteers for anything, our guys are always welcome. In fact, I already talked to the guy who's leading the thing right now. He's like, hey, if they need 6 people, you got 6 volunteers already.
Awesome, that's
So
good to know.
if you want my number, I can leave it with you. I don't have a card or anything.
Yeah, you
so.
can, I'll have to give it to Peggy.
But yeah, that's basically it. Just wanted to forewarning, hey, there's a big event. Don't be scared. Please come join if you want. And I'll actually have some flyers to maybe pass out around town.
Brandon, if you message me where you wanna put signs, I can put you, because you just gotta check with whoever owns the property, but the
Yeah.
village, from the village perspective, if they're temporary event signs, that's cool.
Yeah, maybe just like an arrow.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah, if you can't find somebody, just let me know, and
Okay.
I'll probably know most of the places.
Sounds great. I'm gonna go play cornhole. Thanks.
I'll be 5 minutes behind you. All right. Anything else? Oh, yeah, sorry, Dave.
Right. So, wrote the village trustees a letter. So the village of Sackett's Harbor has public housing. And, it's 40 years old and it hasn't, it's been self-sustaining for 40 years. But it's getting old and it's starting to need some repairs, like
Absolutely.
the things it needs now is drainage, it needs water mains.
But I also.
Those are, right up front. And I'm just reaching out to the village board of trustees to find out, how interested the board is in supporting the property. The property does belong to the village of Sackett's Harbor. The village of Sackett's Harbor has a housing authority that manages the property, not manages, we've got like 3 authorities. We pay the mortgage, we can take out a mortgage. We hire a management company and we approve the budget. That's all we do. Yeah. So the village was very into the 1960s and 70s and early 80s, really wanted this housing badly. And to do it, they worked with New York State to create the housing authorities. So it seems to be confusing to me that the village board of trustees doesn't understand that the village does own the property.
So Dave, I don't wanna cut you off, but
Yeah, that's fine.
we talked to the attorneys about it, and it is actually not as simple as yes or no.
Right.
That board is appointed by the mayor of the village.
Right.
And my authority over that board ends there. I cannot intervene to remove anyone unless I find them in dereliction of duty, and then it is actually, they have to go to like some semblance of a trial with the rest of the board members. We
like
cannot, without your permission, dictate how you spend your funds. We have no oversight over your financials.
Right.
You also answer in many ways to USDA through their program for your, or sorry, I'm thinking.
For our
HUD.
mortgages.
Your mortgage through USDA. HUD also dictates some of the things you do. So when we say like, the answer can't just be yes to, can we have this money? Just like in our, if it was a department, that still often would be the case. However, like, we only have so many people, our tax rate's pretty fixed. We're careful with the budget, there's not a lot of funds. We're not saying we're not going to try and make this problem go away, but. The short answer is we do not have the ability to do 75K for 5 years. And the
Well,
question-
that's the number.
The long answer is, I have under the impression you kind of already knew that, and this is like you're putting in some. That's a great request to put in, because when we go for a grant, we can say, well, here's what we requested from the village, and here's their response. We have documentation of attempting to get funding.
Right.
But, we don't want to get you guys worried that we're gonna leave you out to dry, but at the same time, it's gonna take some time for us to figure out how to do this, how to come up with the funds, what the best way forward is. Dave has offered to help with the grant. We've talked to, just quickly, and I don't wanna get into this too long, but, we have talked in the past with solar. There's really good municipal incentives for solar right now. I talked to the guys at Fourth Coast. I said, hey, if we put solar on the harbor, or the housing authority's roof, could we maybe fix up the roof while we're up there with that same money and have it count towards it? So I'm working on a bunch of different ways to do this. There's other people in the village are doing the same. So I know it's not like the best answer to say, we don't have, that's not likely gonna be the outcome of our budget hearings, that you get your 75K. There may be some money. I think we all agree that the best way to do it, or at least we did before, was to try and leverage it via grants, pay someone to help you write grants rather than just give the cash directly. But that's where we are, and like, as of this meeting, we don't have a strong update for you.
I know Lynn looked at their list of things and a lot of the things were very high compared to pricing he could get. For example, the $75,000 for a parking lot.
Right.
We just did 3 parking lots downtown for less than like 50,000 or whatever the heck it was.
And,
So
and we can, and
There's
Jim
other-
confirmed that we can, the DPW can do that work. So there's ways here, I
he's
think.
doing the work, but he can help facilitate a better cost
Well,
through
yeah,
us, was
no,
what he
yeah.
was thinking.
Either way, I think the next step is I'm gonna make sure that you and Lynn get in touch. Because I think he's been trying to get in touch with the management company, and whether he's calling the wrong number or they're not being responsive, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna put you guys in touch. You can get on the phone, schedule some walkthroughs. That way, when next meeting comes around in 20 days, we've gotten a little bit more input from him, and maybe we can start to plan things.
Yeah, the numbers come from the architects that
Yeah,
go through.
understood.
It doesn't come from a bid.
All right, you guys have anything else for Dave?
Just to kind of reiterate, summarize what you just said, I think the best approach right now, the board is thinking about is probably not a monetary approach, but more, what can we do to support you with the resources we have currently available?
Right.
And that's probably the approach we're looking for. So if you and Lynn can sit down and come up with that approach, then I'll probably be more, I think, acceptable by this board, because we can't just allocate $75,000 a year for the next 5 years.
That's 18% of our budget right now.
Right.
That's a lot of money.
But we do want to help. We're not gonna be high and dry.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's.
Well, those numbers came from, honestly, it's like, well, what are we asking for?
Sure.
What's the ask? I mean, the number is huge. Right?
No,
So we didn't just ask for the whole thing. We just said, okay, well, how about this number?
Sure.
We don't honestly believe it should cost that much, just like you said, the parking lot shouldn't cost that much. But you know, we're just out there working for the village for, you know, as volunteers for free. And you know, if we all decide to stop, then you all have to kind of pick new people to replace us.
Yep, understood.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
So.
All right, would you guys have
Yeah, for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Peter, the owner of Navy Point Marine. All I want to do is really talk about the dock and the plans, and I'm more than willing to donate any time, answer any questions, help in any way I can to kind of move that along.
Okay.
And that it all works for everybody, and we all have a pretty large vested interest. in
Yeah,
what goes
and
on
we were
down by
trying
the
to
water.
not be competitive with what you had going. We were trying to.
Yeah, no, and I
Make it
appreciate that. That's why I think, you know, if you have questions, I do have a little bit of experience with docks and transients and boaters, and I'm more than willing to sit down and help in any way I can.
Yeah,
Give
I
my
mean, it
2
makes sense
cents
if you
worth.
guys sit down with a group again to give Peter it's free. That could make sense.
Usually, this time of year,
Yeah.
always free.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. All right, I don't think there's anybody left unless Craig, you, all right, anybody online that missed last time? Cool. Last thing in your packet is the training, are you going? Erica, Shannon, Lynn and I are all going.
This year.
Um,
Wasn't anything on the list that-
But we've got a pretty good spread, so you know, we can always share info when we come back.
Where is it? Is it back in town?
Hopefully all the richer. No, it's a training.
Oh, well, hell, I didn't know that.
It was there last year. There's not.
Oh.
All right, guys, anything else? Are we good to get out
You're
of
trying to
here?
push me, trying to push me so you can go play cornhole.
I'm just gonna have one beer and then I have to carry the things up the stairs and put them away, because I'm coming in, it closes at 9. I'm done, it's over, I missed it.
We need a motion to. Lynn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor? All right, you can't name your own motion.
Oh, man.
It's nonsense.
I will be away from.
Okay.